and for not being at the party for a long time. I was really happy with my work. So that, when you walk away with that, that's good. That's a win.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So then I'm a short that I did a while ago into some film festivals, into a short film festival.
Great.
And but I have to figure out where to go, because I know that I didn't do it this year, so it's not I'll be eliminated from some of them.
Okay.
Is that correct?
I don't know.
I don't know the rules. There are a lot of people who.
Again?
Wait. David Bartlett can answer that.
Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
Yeah.
I said, I did this short a little while ago, so it's not, I didn't do it last year, so I'm sure I'll be eliminated from some of the festivals, even, entering some of the festivals, but I don't even know where to look for short film festivals.
Well, first of all, you don't have to have that date restriction quite so set in stone if you haven't put it out there yet.
Yeah, I haven't at all. Okay.
You can call it this year then, because you're submitting it for the first time this year.
Okay, great.
Short film festivals, you can go to the two big sites to search for them, the search engines, Film Freeway, and oh my God, what's the other one? There's another one, a really big one.
Okay.
So big I can't remember. But, Film Freeway and Without a Box.
Okay.
Without a Box, there's Film Freeway?
No, two separate ones.
Two separate.
Film Freeway and Without a Box. There might be others by now.
Right.
You can search on there, and in the search engine, you can put the genre in, the short film, whatever it is, and they will come up with possibilities for you. And after you do all that, and you find that there are hundreds and hundreds, and it will cost you thousands of dollars, then you can call me, and I will go over them.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Cool. That's great. And
That's great. And I just want to do it because it's something to do, and I have it, and it's not the best, it's not the worst, but it's fun. It'll be something to get me moving.
Great.
In the meantime.
Great. Terrific. So anything else, Nina?
No, that was my big ask. And that's it. Yeah, I was, I gotta tell you, Elaine, I heard you in my head this week a lot.
Oh, really?
Medication can help.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you were making me show up.
Oh, that's great.
Keep showing up. I've been singing like crazy this week and getting new music, and I just heard you a lot, just reminding me to show up. So
Great.
Thank you.
Good
That's
for
great.
you.
Three cheers. Yay.
You guys are super muffled.
You who are? Which
Well,
You are
actually,
super muffled.
you are.
No, you are.
No, but we're hearing you muffled as well. I don't know why we'd be muffled.
that's funny.
Let's see. Hold on a second.
What
There we
mic
go.
we on?
It's Nina.
Oh, it's Nina?
Just stay mute. Sorry, because Nina's background noise is so loud,
It brings everything down.
Everyone else's.
Yeah, well.
And you get all muffled, but there's nothing going on back here.
I don't know what it is
But
with your
if-
monitor or your
so
mic,
is it-
but yeah.
Do we sound okay now? Do we sound okay
Yes.
now? Good.
Okay,
good.
But Nina,
Yikes.
no, but really
Oh,
good
Jesus.
for you that you would be, getting it out there, even though it's, it may not be genius, but it's probably a hell of a good ride.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yay.
Yay.
So, Adam, do we have a Mr. Sci-Fi question yet?
Yes, it being April Fool's Day,
Uh-oh.
Mark Longo wants to know, what is the best April Fool's Day prank you've ever seen?
Whoa.
Ooh, I'm not a big fan of practical jokes, and so I don't know. I don't have a store of them in my memory because I dislike practical jokes. So I was mentioning to Elaine that my friend Doug Hayes, who directed The Howling Man and The After Hours and many other great Twilight Zone episodes, when he was working at Disney, there was one employee who at his lunch break, he'd go to his locker, he'd take out like a can of peaches, and he would have peaches every day in this can. So the other employees managed to find out his locker combination, and they bought cans of other foods that were the same exact size and, steamed off those labels and put peach labels on them. Each day, he'd open the can of peaches and it would be like tuna, and he'd go like, or whatever, something different, prawns. And he'd go, what's going on here? And they'd say, well, maybe there was a mix up at the factory. And I think they managed to get that thing going for 4 or 5 days before he finally figured out what was going on, but that was pretty damn good. So, okay, let's
I
see.
remember one, Mark, I've got a really funny prank. I remember a friend of mine makes pranks.
Okay, great. Oh,
I was supervising sound on two films. One of them was called Bulletproof, which is the Gary Busey Bulletproof. And the other is Cold Steel, starring the brand new Sharon Stone.
Mhm.
So we had this warehouse, and they had built office walls with drop ceilings, you know, with the suspended
Sure.
panels and the lights, and above it was another, you know, 8 feet or 6 feet. So this friend of mine, he crawls through the ceiling into the room next door to his, which was the ADR supervisor, a woman, opened her door, and then they switched the two rooms. We're talking about a film bench with trim bins and moviolas and chairs, everything. Bookshelf, the whole thing, switched them, and then closed the doors. And she came in, and she stood there, and she didn't even know what to say at first. And she started screaming, "Whoever the F did this needs to get put back now." She was absolutely livid.
That's funny.
That was pretty funny. So then not too long after that, she became Steven Spielberg's ADR supervisor. Now she's one of the most famous ADR supervisors ever.
Wow. Well, that's great. That's great.
I forgot about that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So why don't we do you, Adam, since you're further north and closer to the sun?
Sure. Hi guys. I think you all pretty much know me or have seen me before. I'm Adam Sartain. I am an actor, a voice actor, and an associate producer on Space.
Yay!
Among other things.
Uh-huh.
And this week, the big to-do is I got a gig doing a partial audio book for, I believe, a table member. At least it says he knew me through the table. But it's interesting. At least he quoted me, what it was, at 18,000 words, and he wanted me to give him a quote for that. And I gave him a quote based on industry standards and a significant discount from those standards. And then he balked at that price, and so I negotiated further down, and for less work and less pay, which I thought was a reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got the copy, which I had to do several intake corrections, because a lot of the times when someone writes something and they don't have a particularly good grasp on the English language,
yes,
or at least they didn't do at least a pass,
yes,
editing pass on it. That's what it seems like. I'm not going to say the guy's name.
No.
Yeah. It's like, if you're going to hire someone to do voiceover for an audio book, have the book finished. Have it ready to publish. This was not ready to publish at all. So it was very difficult to do. But I got he wanted 15 minutes as a sample. And so I gave him 16 and a half minutes, because that was the first 2 chapters. That said, I also auditioned for a virtual musical, which at my old stomping grounds, the Davis Musical Theater Company up here in Sacramento. Through the pandemic, they have been creatively finding a creative way to keep putting on shows, and that is pre-recording each individual actor for musical numbers, and then combining them all into a very, very tough editing situation, basically making filmed versions of all the musical numbers, and then having all of the dialogue done via Zoom, a Zoom broadcast live. So it's an interesting combination of things, because obviously you can't sing over Zoom with the delay messing everything up. If they pre-record everyone individually, you get around COVID restrictions. And so I have auditioned for the role of Shrek in their upcoming production of Shrek the Musical.
Cool.
Wow,
that's great. Congratulations. Good. Let's hope they get you.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's
I
great.
auditioned on Sunday night and just had a call back last night.
Great. Wow, that's swell. So
Really good.
anything else you need, Adam?
I might need like a back brace or something because I threw my back out last night.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Yikes.
And yeah, I've mostly recovered, but like it could come back. I'm worried it'll come back. So
Yeah.
Do you have
Opioids?
any insurance? Do you have any insurance to go in and get help?
I have Medi-Cal.
Okay.
Because
I
also,
always-
I know
Yeah.
they have the pharmacists, because they have like a gazillion braces of different kinds at the
Mhm.
pharmacy.
Yeah.
That sometimes you can just go up to your pharmacist and say, "This
What do
is
you
what's
recommend?"
wrong. What do you
Yeah.
recommend?" Because there's a
Yeah.
million over-the-counter braces now that
I
might
could
give you
try-
some
yeah,
support.
Yes.
if I can make it to the pharmacy. That's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true, yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. But sorry that you're having
My
a
mom
hard
has
time.
some Norcos.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So, well, okay. Anything else for now?
no, that's
Yay.
Yeah.
3 cheers, Adam. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
yes. Let's go to from the Fish Sandwich Show.
Mm-hmm.
Kong versus Godzilla. Do you think this film will bring people back to the theaters?
No, I think it's going to have them flee the theaters. I don't know. I mean, I have zero interest in Godzilla, and the only King Kong I like is the first one, the original one, the Willis O'Brien, stop motion animation one with Fay Ray. I mean, if you take Kong out, if you take the romantic element out of Kong, the fact that he loved Fay Ray and beauty killed the beast, then he's just a big gorilla monster, and I've sort of zero interest in that movie. It's like, I'm wearing out of, I'm getting tired of really empty movies. And, we're watching, the other night we watched The Departed, which is great. And now we're watching Brazil, Terry Gilliam's Brazil, which is incredibly inventive and original.
Nobody was fun.
What?
Nobody was fun.
Nobody?
I'm nobody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We went to the movie theater. And
Oh, Nobody. The action film with, yes, Nobody. Yeah. Yes, that's a good film. That's the greatest film we saw Saturday.
well, that was saw
so-
in the theater. So.
Yes, it was good. It was good. It's if you have a choice between Godzilla or Kong or Nobody, go to Nobody. Choose Nobody. But okay, good. So now we're gonna go to David Bartlett. Go ahead, David Bartlett.
Go ahead, go for
Hey
it.
everyone.
And speak up a little. Your volume's a little low.
Actually, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
uh-huh,
but yeah,
uh-huh.
go for it.
But not much.
Enough. That's
It's
fine.
okay,
It's
yeah.
fine.
We can hear you.
All right. So I am going a little earlier than normal because I had my first COVID shot today.
Yay!
Things are fine. I just feel a little sleepy.
Yeah,
So I think I'm going to go take advantage of that
sure.
in a minute. But I am a filmmaker and a teacher and human rights activist and a producer of Space Command.
Yay!
Yay. And they all rejoice. Yay. So let's see. My background starts when I was 10. I made my first film. I did films in high school. I went to LA in 1980 and started working right away on big films as an intern. And then I worked on some low budget films. I was a set builder at Roger Corman Studios with Jim Cameron. At that time, he was Jim Cameron and his fiancee Gail Ann Hurd.
Mhm.
And then I started working in the bigger union studio movies on films like Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall. And then I got back into independent films of my own, and now I have 64 film festival awards. And
Great.
then somehow I ended up, my very first professional job was on a TV show. The only one I ever did until I worked on Space Command.
Yay!
So anyway, I always looking for a new story to tell. And
Mm,
Mark's request, I think, is a good request,
okay.
and I found one that
Okay.
I think Mark's going to like in particular.
All right.
So once upon a time, there were 7 or 8 major studios, and they were all owned by parent companies, but they were run by like monstrously powerful, amazing independent people like Louis B. Mayer and Carl Lindley. But one studio in town, the guy came to town, he said, I want to have a movie studio. And I said, you can't do that. All the theaters own them and all the movie stars are tied up. And he said, I'm going to try. So he went to the corner of Sunset and Gower, and he found that there were 5 or 6 little tiny movie theaters movie production companies side by side that made westerns. So all these cowboys and Indians, real cowboys and real Indians, Native Americans, would come in their full costumes of what they were wearing for work, basically, and line up on the street, and the casting director would come out and pick the ones they want to bring them in. That's the work that day. So that corner became known as Gower Gulch, which is still called that way today. So this guy bought one, then he bought two, then he bought four, then he had the whole corner, then he bought the entire block, and he built what became Columbia Pictures.
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's a
So
story.
he wanted to make a big movie, but he didn't have any way to do it, so he took his last dollars and he borrowed a star from MGM, another one from Warner Brothers, and a director that was up and coming, but he wanted to really crack out on his own, away from the studio system, and he made it happen one night, which was with Claudette Colbert, and it was with
Clark Gable.
Thank you, Clark Gable and Frank Capra, the name of the title, all that stuff, and it won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actor, and Best Actress, which didn't happen again until 1978
Yes.
with Blown Through Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So Harry Cohn was his name, and he started the studio.
Yes.
That's not the story.
Oh, okay. You're just okay. Go ahead.
The projectionist's name was Martin Nosek. He was about this tall, and he had a cigar in his off the side like this. He was from Czech Republic, and he talked like this. He'd say, "How are you? How are you? Good to see you." He tapped my shoulder. Good to see you. I was a projectionist in Oregon, so when I came here, I started working as a projectionist, and the only place I could get a job was a non-union projection room up on Sunset Boulevard called the Martin Nosek Projection Theater. It was down some stairs in the back. It was so old Hollywood. You go in, it's just this small, dingy place with a leather couch, and it was an editing bench. They had the original editing block that cut the first Cinerama films on, and the first moviola that edited The Jazz Singer, and he had a print of Clockwork Orange randomly. And he said, "You see that couch?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "That couch was the director of Jet Pilot. It was Howard Hughes. He slept on that couch for 6 months." So I'm like, isn't that interesting? So I'm a projection in this room where Howard Hughes slept on the couch. So years later, I see The Aviator about Howard Hughes, and here's Howard Hughes living in a projection room with bottles of urine and food wrappers and everything like that.
Yeah.
A much nicer one than I worked in. That's where that came from. And I was working in that projection room as a projectionist at that time.
Wow, that's great.
It was an amazing place. I
Well,
saw
yeah.
some
Wow.
incredible bad films that were trying to be sold, and I saw a bunch of dailies and a bunch of cuts, and I learned how to make films.
Wow.
One day I watched 1 hour of Folgers coffee coming to a boil slowly over time with no sound.
Wow.
It was like prop my eyelids open, boring.
Well, see, the best thing about that, David, was that when people would come to that projection room, you could blame the bottles of urine on Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
So so that was great. That
They've been swept up by then.
but it doesn't work as well in your apartment, I must say.
No, it's not the same story.
No.
I once came over there and Martin was panicked, throwing some small rolls of film into a 50-gallon drum full of water, and it was nitrate film.
Oh man.
From the old days, which would catch fire and burn instantly. And he had decided that it was going to burn the entire block down any second. He didn't get it in this water first.
Wow.
Sometimes I wonder what were those films he could have restored possibly. But,
Wow.
The nitrate in the films was very flammable, and then they would actually take the prints and melt them down to get the silver out. It was valuable. And that's why there are not very many silent films left anymore for those days. So I got to work in the Martin Nosek Projection Theater and work with Martin, Harry Cohn's personal projectionist for 40 years.
Wow. Cool.
So, there you go.
Great. So what else is new before you go lie down?
Let's see. I'm a Space Command guy these days.
Yeah.
We have brand new visual effects, kind of executive supervisor, definitely advisor, master. Mark's going to tell you all about him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I worked with him for a little while today and Mitch, and it's going to be amazing. He's terrific. He knows all these terms and all these solutions, and he knows exactly what's wrong with certain things, and he's going to help me fix them up. And
Great.
it's going to be awesome. We're going to get along famously.
Great.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And Dave Edison and I are going to have a great time with him. Trust me on that, Dave. He's really something. And he was very appreciative of all of us and what we've been doing at Space Command and how much under control it is and how it's along the right lines in so many ways.
Great.
He's going to make sure that we're all doing technical things and as we need, and also to help us with some designs. And some of the designs are really cool, of course, because he's got 3 Emmys and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So that's a cool thing.
Yes.
Sweet Haven table readings coming up. We're getting people confirmed for that. Mark's going to tell you about that too. The studio has now taken the last cave wall it had that didn't match the other cave walls, and it has now been dismantled and is being rebuilt in the image of the rest of our cave walls. So we'll have a full match set of 18 cave walls that can do whatever we want with, which will be really cool.
Great.
And so we're still moving forward on different kinds of fronts, but focusing really the upcoming Kickstarter campaign, which Adam is a big part of. And that is going to launch us into the completion of episode 102.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something I have ever said.
Wow. That's
I'm
great.
saying it now.
Uh-huh.
We're getting closer to the completion
Yay.
of episode 102 with 980 visual effects shots
Great.
with sound and music and color, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
In the end. And that's, a couple months away, we're going to have that big announcement.
Yay.
Throw a party and everything else.
Great.
And the other news is, guess what else happened today?
What?
Amoeba opened.
Yes. Yay.
Now, I drove by there, and I'm telling you, the door had a line that started at the door and went down all the way down to Sunset Boulevard,
Wow.
all the way up Sunset Boulevard to the next street, all the way up the next street, and all the way down Hollywood back to the door again.
Wow.
Tell the people from around the world, what is Amoeba?
Amoeba Music in Hollywood was the largest music store of its kind, maybe in the world, but in North America, it is the last great chain of music stores that has new items, eccentric items, used items. It has vinyl all over the place. It has CDs, cassettes there,
DVDs,
lots of books, posters, and an entire floor of movies.
Yes, yeah, it's
Blu-rays,
great.
DVDs, VHS tape. You can buy a PAL copy of Breathless on VHS if you wanted to. I mean, they've got so much cool stuff there.
Laser disc?
They have laser
Yeah,
discs.
they do.
Laser discs.
Yeah.
They're like $2 too.
Wow.
Laser discs are like crazy cheap.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Well, good.
So anyway, there you go.
Okay.
Music, and it's across the street from the Pantages Theater if you wonder where it is.
Great. Terrific.
So that's that stuff. Now, Space Command. If you want to work on Space Command, you can talk to me. I'm looking for people. We're always looking for a few good people. And we have set painting and building things available. We have, I need someone to do some runs on occasion, some things that need to be shipped on occasion, all that sort of thing. Office management is around. I've got one person that helps me, and I've got enough things to have someone else, plus the sets. We're going to be building some more sets soon. Not like right away, but we're planning for it right around the corner.
Yep.
And we're going to be shooting more too. We'll need things for that. We're going to do a fog test soon, which means lots of different kinds of fog will be tested with lights and with the cave walls, and we'll see what's involved with that and stuff. We're going to do a small version of that soon. You can pitch it on that if you like. And so these are volunteer positions, and they're also paid positions. I have both.
Great.
So if you want to figure out how to be an active in Space Command, here's the best way. Volunteer with me and have Mark and I see you long enough, and they will write you into something. That's happened several times.
Yep.
So I am not kidding.
Yes.
People ask me, how can I get to be in Space Command? And I tell them that, and they go, no, how can I get to be? No, that is how. That's the way.
Yep.
So until the table's back at tables in a restaurant, that's what we do. Anyway.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
Now, the third thing is the table email.
Yeah.
So if you want to get on the table email, I think all the people on here now are already on the table email. Maybe not. You can contact me. My email I will put on the main field here off to the side. DaveFilms@hotmail.com. This is also good until we're back in Marie Counters. It's also good for the Mr. Sci-Fi people. A couple people have been waiting a long time to get on. I won't go into why, but that's now figured out, and that should be happening in the next couple of days if it's not already done.
Great.
So if you have troubles with it, you can call me. If you want to get onto it, you can call me. All you have to do is get an email that has your first and last name in it, not in a EPI 12 or something, a real name, and then I will submit it, and you'll be on.
Great.
And that's kind of it.
Okay. 3 cheers. Excellent. Well said. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have another question from Hayes494.
Great.
Who says, under development, there is a sci-fi TV series called Contra based off of a sci-fi video game from the 80s. Since you like politics and history, would you be interested in writing for it if approached?
If the concept of it interested me, it's possible. I mean, again, you know, it's with most projects, there's a dumb way to do it and a smart way to do it, and they do it the dumb way. Elaine's gonna walk the dog. Okay, see ya. Bye, Elaine. But yeah, sure, of course, I'm open to interesting things. So thanks. So Dave, you're next on my screen if you want to take a run at things. Oh, you're muted. Okay, can you? There you go.
Yes, hi.
Great.
Hi, everyone. Dave Edison here. Hello, Mr. Sci-Fi listeners, you flies on the wall, you. So, those of you who don't know me, well, you all know me. I'm the editor of Space Command. I'm sorry, I'm the editor of Space Command. I'm supposed to say it like that. And, yeah. We've had an interesting week. Had a computer meltdown. It didn't take anything with it. I have everything backed up, of course, but it always takes a little bit of effort to get another computer up and started. So I reformatted an external hard drive for my MacBook Pro. So for the moment, we're operating on that until a new iMac comes in. And the thing was old. It was just old. I beat the hell out of it. It just plain wore out. So anyway, so we're moving on. What else is going on? I'm working on some VFX myself. I'm adding eye glow to Doug Jones's character. That's a tedious process, but it's going as fast as I can. And let's see. I see a couple of people on the screen there. We got Mike. We got Tamir. During the weekend, I've edited a short film that these fellas have been shot, and we're in the process of refining it. A little later on, Bonnie Janofsky might be here. She'll be doing the music, and it's a nice little dramatic piece.
Great.
So look forward to all of you getting to see that. Right, guys? Mike, Tamir, yeah, okay. So I guess that's about it. If anything else is going on, they haven't told me.
Okay.
So, and it'll be good to be working with Mitch. He's a really great guy. So, on the VFX department.
Yes.
So that's what I know. Do I know anything else, Mark, or is that about the limit of it?
That's the limit of your knowledge.
Well, okay, boy, I hope to know something else someday.
Someday.
Monday. I'm getting Pfizered. I'm getting
Yay.
Pfizer 1.
Yay!
So,
good.
My wife is getting Moderna on Saturday.
Great.
I see Dale Turner is there. He posted that he got one and done.
Yes, good.
So we're all getting to the point. And David Bartlett had mentioned that.
Yeah,
so
it's good.
We're all getting to the point where we can get together.
Yes.
And
in person.
Make magic, or at least movies.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we've weathered the storm. We've done well, and it's the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train. So great.
Things are coming together slowly. Cool. So we'll see when everything the world gets back to normal.
Cool.
When the plague passes by.
Yay! 3 cheers, Dave. Okay.
Well, folks. Take care.
Thanks.
Stay safe.
So, Adam, is there?
You guys, Mark, you look like you have a halo from God.
Yeah, well, that's just me. That's that's just my natural quality. So,
using lens flare.
Bye.
Bye. Feel better. Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. We have another question from Hayes494.
Great. Terrific.
And he asks, if you had a chance to reboot a TV show or movie that hasn't been rebooted yet, anyone in particular that you'd like to reboot?
It's an interesting question. I'd have to go over my lists. There's a lot. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that would be fun to reboot. But mainly I always think about universes. I mean, the Blade Runner universe is of great interest to me. Star Trek has endless possibilities, even yet. I'm less interested in Star Wars. it's not, I don't think in those terms. It's mainly, well, it's mainly the projects I want to do. I mean, the Martian Chronicles, Lost Mars, the Ray Bradbury stuff, that's very high on my list. And so we'll see what happens. But, I'm currently creating the Showrunners Network, 6 shows. And so I've got a lot on my plate. So mainly it's just getting all that done. So let's see. So I guess, Stephen, you're next on my screen. If you want to take your turn, go for it.
Hey, Mark.
Hi.
Hey. Hi. So I've been in touch with Robin, my coach, and I actually was just talking to Dave, and I just sent him an email right now.
Good.
I would like to volunteer for Space Command like a day or so a month to get some experience so I can maybe see what jobs are available in the film industry for down the road.
Great. Sure. Well, just I guess, you have David Bartlett's information, correct?
Yes, I just sent him an email.
Great.
And, what are you looking for, Dave?
Great. Terrific. That'll be great. Well, thanks, Stephen. So anything else you need right now?
Could you help me find a volunteer positions or help you guys out as well? Or also I was talking with someone, I'd also like to reach out to some of the big guys in their offices to find out what I could volunteer for, what I could get some information I think the road.
Yeah. Well, David Bartlett will be a really good person as a point person because he's worked for the major studios. He knows, people, he knows a lot about that kind of stuff. So I think he'll be a very good advisor to you in that regard.
Great.
So the more he knows
so
the more you know of David Bartlett, the more David Bartlett knows of your skills, the more he can kind of point you in various directions. So yeah, he's very good at mentoring people in that way.
I think so, because I don't know what I want to do, but I know I at least, I went to school and got a degree in cinema and television arts, and I'd like to see what career path is out there for me.
Yes, well, that's great. Well, great. Well, that sounds like a great
is
step.
Dave there?
No, well, David Bartlett is he had his first shot, his first COVID shot, so he's just lying down now. But I'm sure tomorrow he'll get back to you if you reach out to him.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Yay! 3 chairs, Stephen.
Thank you.
You bet. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have a interesting question from Juan Suros.
Great. Hi, Juan.
Who says, I saw this USS Pinafore musical in LA a few years ago.
Wow.
Are there any similar projects simmering these days? Apparently it was Gilbert and Sullivan on the Enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be any number of peculiar ideas, and some of them will work and some of them won't. It's just it depends on the skills of the people mounting it. Star Trek, of course, is a little tricky now because Paramount tends to be extremely possessive of their intellectual property rights. So one has to tread very carefully. But yeah, you always hear about stuff. I never judge whether something's a good idea or a bad idea until I see it, because something like Little Shop of Horrors can either be a really crappy Corman picture or a really, really terrific stage musical, and so there's that. But we'll see what the future bodes. I mean, science fiction has always been a pretty good testing ground, particularly for musicals, things like that Rocky Horror Picture Show, Little Shop of Horrors, as I mentioned, the stuff that Disney's done. There's a lot of possibilities. So there's though there are a number of musicals where they've tried various science fiction properties where it hasn't succeeded. One of the most notable flops was a stage version of Carrie that they did some years ago that it opened and closed the same week, and it was a very, very big resounding flop. But
and in that week I saw it.
Did you really?
Yes.
How was it?
Yeah, it was what you'd imagine. It is just misguided.
Wow.
I forgot the guy's name from Fame, who was one of the leads in it.
Wow.
And Betty Buckley was in it.
Wow.
But yeah, these songs like, my name is Carrie. Why can't they remember my name? It's Carrie. Carrie just says these ridiculous songs.
Yeah, but it's how you deliver it, Dave. You just did a great. You were great.
Because I have my Broadway training.
Yes.
But it's been revived. They did a revival of it a few years ago that I think went a little better. But it's certainly on YouTube. You can find samples of it.
But if it's Carrie, you don't say revived. You say it's been brought back from the dead.
Yeah, resurrected.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, good.
But
So
it's funny you mentioned Little Shop of Horrors, because that was the very first musical I was ever in.
oh, that's great.
In college, I played Mr. Mushnik.
That's fun. That's very fun. It's no, I love that play. Michael Reeves. Michael Reeves took. Oh, go
Could
ahead.
you call it Carrie Reanimated?
Yes. Well, there's actually a stage play of Reanimator, and that was quite entertaining. So, but great. So, so Mike, why don't we take you? It's good to see you again. How are you doing?
Oh, considering everything, I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
Staying busy. I just got back from the VA.
Uh-huh.
Jim got his second shot.
Okay, good.
And then he got a pedicure.
Good.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Now Jim is a longtime table member,
Yes.
actor, photographer,
In
all
Space
around-
Command.
all around great guy, and world-class curmudgeon.
Yes.
he's the happy curmudgeon.
Yes.
But he's doing well.
Good.
Doing well. I'm just taking care of him, making sure he's clean and all, fed and all.
Yeah.
So
Great.
he's doing good.
Good.
Doing good.
He's heading on his 87th birthday next month. isn't it?
Wow.
Is it 87 or 88?
I think it's 187.
Yeah, that's the number.
Yeah.
He's the last living Civil War veteran in
Yes.
the country.
Yes.
He's asleep right now, though. So
Well, thank
I'm not
God.
gonna wake him up.
No, don't. So anything you need, Mike?
Actually, just one thing. When I was diagnosed with my most recent ailment, I wanted to, wallow in self-pity. But I said to myself, you know what? If I've got just a couple of years left, I'm going to do things that I've always wanted to do, and I never did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked someone to marry me.
Huh. Wow. Congratulations.
I knew they were going to say no, but I had to do it just because
Sure.
I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And I finished the first draft of a short film
Great.
a couple of weeks ago. I have it out to some people to read, and hopefully I'll be able to get that in the can by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'm just really happy and surprised and pleased with all the love and support that I have gotten since this whole thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
In case you didn't know, I was diagnosed with cancer last month.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
But treatable.
well, the doctor said we caught it early enough, so there's a 98% chance of survival.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Crossing the street doesn't have a 98% chance of survival.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I found out that it's a 95% chance of surviving a plane trip. So I've got more of a chance of living with this than I do flying an airplane.
Well, there you go. And now one thing I was going to mention, Mike, is you might want to just reach out to Damien, because Damien, as you know, is a cancer survivor, and he would be very good for just kind of like emotional support and, been there, done that kind of thing. So he's
Damien Lindelof?
No. Damien, what's Damien's last name? He's a table member. He's from England.
Gerard.
Damien Gerard. He used to be a cop in England. So you and he would have you and he would have a lot to talk about. So Elaine has his number. So if you just text Elaine, she can send it to you. And he's a really good guy. Elaine was talking to him yesterday, and he's a really, really, really good guy. So
I talked to him a couple times.
Yeah.
One of his friends got killed in an explosion that the IRA had set off.
Wow.
Way back when.
Wow.
So he's familiar with.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yep. He's quite a guy. So anything else for now, Mike? Anything else you need?
What about your film?
My film? Well, we finished filming. David is in the process of editing. We're giving him notes, and
I'm in the process of waiting for notes.
Uh-huh.
He didn't say.
Then you can wait for me for when I have time.
Okay, because I gave him a bunch of notes last week. And I said, this is what we can cut and stuff like that. So I'm surprised he hasn't gotten them to you.
Huh.
I'll check with him and see what he did. And
they've been sent. You got that revision. That's been sent.
Yes. I got that second cut. We're gonna get Bonnie to do the music for me.
Great.
I understand you sent her a copy. Is that right? So she can get a feel for the.
She has the first cut, but I'll send her the third cut once I get your notes and Samir's notes on the second cut.
Okay.
Great.
All
Cool.
right. And yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's it. Just thanks everybody. I really appreciate your being here for me.
Well, it's really good to see you, and please give Jim our best as well.
I will.
Yay! 3 cheers, Mike. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a very general question from the Scottish Adventure.
Yay!
He or she asks, whoever it may be, they ask, how does someone become a filmmaker in today's generation?
Well, you take your phone out of your pocket and you turn the video camera on. I mean, basically, it's that simple.
Horizontally.
Yeah, horizontally. It depends on what you want to make. It depends on who you want to reach. It depends on how much you want to spend. I think that the single most important thing in becoming a filmmaker is giving yourself the permission to start right now. And it doesn't matter if you shoot it on your phone. It doesn't matter. I mean, most people just stop themselves from timidity, from fear of failure, from not having everything be exactly perfect in their fantasy version. No, it's like, just start and figure out the story you want to tell. If it's not good enough the first time you do it again. That's the main thing. And find people who have the skills you need, or go on to YouTube or other places for tutorials. Back in the day when you were shooting on film and everything cost millions of dollars, then you had an excuse to not do stuff. Now, really, there's no excuse. And so that's what I would say. So there you go. In fact, that's what I just did say. So, Elaine is back, and Christine, you're up. You're next on our screen. Go for it.
Oh, and you're a hero, evidently, to Judith Smiley.
Yes. There you go.
Say that again?
Oh, you're a hero to Judith Smiley.
Oh, yes. Judith and I spent quite a bit of time today together.
Great.
Yes, she asked. She came early and asked to she asked if she could just come and go because she was feeling a little run down.
Yep.
But she definitely wanted to give a big heads up as to you being her lifesaver.
Very good. Hi, I'm Christine Laurie. I'd say I'm behind the scenes Christine. And I had no idea a couple years ago when I joined the table, what do I want to do? And they said, well, just get on sets and volunteer and, figure it out. And so I share that with, I think it was Steven who had said, I don't know what I want to do and I have this degree. And I'm like, that's exactly what I did. Ended up on a number of things that David Bartlett was participating in. I've had more behind the scenes job titles than I know what to do with. And then from a table member, I was referred to a project, and then they were like, we don't like you for that project. We're moving you to this other project. And then from that, take 3 COVID tests to be able to work because they keep extending how much time. So I keep saying I'm a pod person because I've joined a pod and they're just moving me from thing to thing as a part of the pod. Anyway, so that's really fun. And then what else is happening? I hung out with Judith today, which is nice because table members become not only your friends and your colleagues, but your family. And so just know that everybody's here, and if you've had a really good week, then we need to hear from you, because if someone's had a really bad week, they need to know that just around the corner is success. If you don't give up, you will fail forward to success.
Good.
So today I don't have an ask, but I did have a share. And so I am just very thankful for this group and for the support of the group. And
I don't know, Mark, how you had the vision to be able to see how valuable it is to have a group that's this group. So thank you for that.
I can answer that question actually. What happened was 28 years ago, however long it's been, 1993. I was just so when I saw other people in Hollywood acting so badly and so inappropriately and so rudely and with such disrespect of people, I thought I've got to do something as a counterweight to that, because I knew so many good people who were getting ground down and coming to conclusions about how shitty Hollywood was needlessly. And I thought, well, my gosh, if we just see, my mom was a very compassionate person, and she also treated everyone equally with equal respect. And that was certainly my philosophy and Elaine's philosophy. And so by making it very simple, where it's like, there's no judgment of who has talent, who's deserving, who's accomplished. Everyone is welcome if they come with a good heart, and a determination to try stuff. It's just grown and grown till now it's thousands of people. And there's something called congruity. And what that means is that you are the same way in everything you do. And so in our artwork, in like our work is in writing and producing and directing, in the table, what we do in our relationship, there's a compassion and regard for people, and we're congruent, Elaine and I. And so the table is as much of an artwork that we're creating as Space Command is. And I deliberately designed it so there would be no cost other than ordering food when we can order food again, because I didn't want it to be an organization. I wanted it to be a community. You don't hear words like that much anymore. Community, citizen, we're all consumers. And there's something toxic about being a consumer. Being a citizen means, or being a neighbor, I'm so tempted when I walk down the street to say, hi, neighbor, except that people would probably, think I was out of my mind or on the latest mood elevator or something. But I think the idea of neighbors and the idea of community and the idea of all of us sharing this experience equally and coming with a good heart and coming with mutual support. I mean, I think it's great that Mike is here tonight, because again, he took in Jim Metropole, and I don't know what sins you committed in a previous life to have to do that, but it's great that you did it. And but I mean, Mike, we're here for you, and we're here in support of you, and that's how it should be. That's what a community is. That's what a family is, and
remember, it was like very sad at the beginning. We'd be meeting really talented actors, really talented writers and directors, who would pack up their bags and go back home,
right? Because
they thought they didn't have the ability, just because they didn't know how the town worked,
right?
And they said that they were failing because of their limits, when they had gifts that would have been wonderful for everyone to have shared, but it was simply because they couldn't get through the toxic environment. They didn't understand.
Right. I mean, and so I wanted to create a support structure for people, and one without requirements, other than coming with a good heart and coming, with mutual regard. And it's worked, it's been every week for 28 years now, and still going strong. So, I mean, when I started the table, gosh, what was I working on back then? I was probably, maybe I was on Lazarus Man as a producer, something like that. I was working at the studios, but now I'm doing Space Command. I mean, it's been a fun journey. I guess that's before I wrote I guess I just written Magic Time with You, the pilot, hadn't written the novels yet, so it's just interesting, the journey that we've taken through all of this. But my commitment to it was to be there every week, unless we're out of town or something, but to really, I recognize that my continuity would help establish the health of the organization, of the group, so there you go. Didn't mean to make a speech, but that's the underlying, thing of it.
It's very valuable to share that information, to share where it comes from. Mm-hmm. And I definitely do see the, like I said, you come, and it doesn't matter where you are, you're accepted, whether you're new, whether you finished school, but you're not you haven't done anything yet. Whether like me, I'm like, okay, well, I have this ethnic career, and what can I possibly be doing? And discovering that I have transferable skills.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it definitely never would have been this happy to be on set if I had
Yes.
back at the table and been able to volunteer in all those opportunities. And I'm thankful for those beginning days when I didn't know you, where you would show up and there'd be nobody, and you'd still show up.
Yes, yes, and that's an important thing. Oh, by the way, if anyone hasn't muted their phone, please, I mean their thing, please, their mic, please do if you're not, if it's not your turn, because we're getting like but yes, and because originally it started as an offshoot of a class I'd taken where with 5 other people who were sort of we were a support group for each other in the industry, and then they all fell away. And but I knew it would be, they wanted it to be once a month, and I thought that's not often enough for it to really take hold. And I thought it'll be every Thursday. And the reason I made it every Thursday was so that people would know that if it's Thursday, we're on. And as you say, in the early days, sometimes I'd come to this restaurant and it would just be me sitting at this big round table. And I just kept the faith, and fortunately, I find myself a fascinating conversationalist. So having dinner with myself was was actually a treat, as Dave can attest, knowing my my idiosyncrasies. But, but yeah. So thanks, Christine. So is there anything else you need?
And by the way, one of these days you'll have to tell us how you met Elaine and what sin she did in a former life.
Well, the better question is, look at the rogues gallery of other boyfriends she had before me, where I would look halfway decent. That's the real blessing. But yeah, there's
we've seen pictures of Elaine when you two met.
Yeah.
And I mean, she it's a cliche, but she could have had anybody.
Yeah. I mean, Elaine was definitely a catch, so yeah, absolutely. And but there's a long version of how we met and a short version of how we met, and we'll tell you one of them sometime. So so anything else, Christine?
Oh, I'm good.
Great. Yay, thank you. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question from Scott Baker, who says, Mr. Sci-Fi,
Yes.
I am a bit persnickety about time travel in stories where they never seem to take space into account.
Yes.
Do you have any similar pet peeves about realism in sci-fi?
It's not so much realism in sci-fi, but I often find them making it up as they go along, seemingly, or making the rules up as they go along. And it's like, where the hell are we? What's going on? It's like, I want to know that they've thought about it beforehand and laid out a consistent worldview and a consistent technology. I mean, in Space Command, God knows there's flaws, but it starts as a technology that doesn't have faster than light drive, and over time becomes one that does. And again, the science is not that difficult, really, though we just saw a fascinating special, Nova special on quantum physics that talked about entanglement. And if there is faster than light speed, that's where it's happening, because it's instantaneous, and that, of course, violates Einsteinian physics. So there's some very interesting questions. So, I mean, all of the science fiction people I know who are worth their salt keep up with, particularly with physics, but also with anthropology and paleontology and so forth.
There's no real rules, there are no real obstacles.
Right.
And where there are no real consistent obstacles, there's no drama.
Right.
And so that's where you lose everybody, because if it's, hey, whatever the hell, then you might as well just be in the lobby eating popcorn.
Well, it's the problem I've had with Star Trek Discovery in the first 2 seasons. I haven't watched all of the 3rd season yet, but it's just kind of like, what the hell? Like mushroom drive and red angels and time travel. And time travel is you have to be very careful when you write time travel, because you can get so, it eats its own tail. I mean, it's paradoxes are going to pile up. It's really, really, really tricky. It's really tricky. I once was asked to develop a time travel series, to come in and pitch one. And I came up with something called, I think I called it Burning Time. And the gag was that these guys go back in time, and they basically have 2 chances to make it right. So in other words, it's almost like it's not set in stone, until the second time. And so the fun part was to see how they screw up the first time and pray that they'll get it right the second. I never ended up making that show, thank God. But yeah, the Time Machine by H.G. Wells, I think, gets it right, but lots of people haven't. So let's see. So let me see who's next. Carol Field, you're next. Go for it.
Here I am with my 2 pairs of glasses. They're both 75s. I'm too cheap to get a big one. A ditto, Christine, what you said about Mark and Elaine, I'm just awestruck with. And Elaine, if I may, you just remind me of a beautiful blonde Chinese lady. I'm sorry. That's what I'm like, yeah, she's like a blonde Chinaman.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, she gets that all the time.
Oh, you're walking down the street.
Yeah, really.
I guess I'm an actress in this place first with you all. Very available for table reads. Adam, I just came in. Were you talking about Sacramento Music Circus?
Nope.
No, the Davis Musical Theater Company. Sacramento Music Circus is a professional.
Yeah. Because I just thought it.
DMGC is a community theater.
Okay. So SMC. I mean, Sacramento Music Circus. When I was auditioning for a lot of musicals in New York, people were dying to get into that. Really fine. Also, Adam, quercetin is a really good natural anti-inflammatory. You can get it at any health food store.
And I have it at home in LA.
Darn it. It's really good. It's the record. We should all have it in our medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
I don't audition much because my life went a different way and it went too far a different way. But my agent, since friggin' 10 months, called me about 2 weeks ago to read for a commercial. And and I said to him, I do not have a self-tape set up. And then he showed me the script. And the script was all marked and yellowed. And I said, how many people has he sent this to anyways? So I called him back and said, listen, I'm really sorry. I don't have a self-tape set up. I don't want a selfie on my cell phone right now. But when pandemic's over and I feel a little bit more comfortable on a set, I will learn how to do that, I promise. I was shocked that he said, okay, Carol, that's fine. I thought he'd really come down on me for being so technical. But so, I mean, just voice what you need. And, and so on a literary side, this nice literary manager I just signed with, just wrote me the other night, said she's reading both of my books. I just needed to hear that. I felt, I felt really supported. She's very down to earth, which I love. And so things are very, very nice. And I'm loving being part of Sweet Haven. Thank you so much.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
So much fun.
Just so you know, I could, when you want to start self-taping, I could give you a list of actors who've done all these different things to make it easy for themselves to do really good self-tapes. So there's a lot of table people who are
cool.
Who've gotten comfy with self-tapes.
Yeah.
So it's 1, 2, 3.
I'll probably just do that.
Right.
Yeah, because it's kind of like what Mike Lopez said. We have to do what we love.
Yeah.
And not living for the objective exigencies. I'm freaking tired of that. I just want to do what we love and be with who we love, and So I think that's it for today from my little list. And I'm going to buy the Martian Chronicles because I never read it.
It's a great book. It's a great book. I'll tell you a couple of interesting things about it. It's a book by Ray Bradbury, for those who don't know. There are 3 different versions of it. When it first came out in 1950, there was one story that the American publisher refused to run in the book. It was called The Fire Balloons, and it was a religious story set on Mars. And so that appeared in the first edition in England. So that the English edition actually had one additional story. And in England, the book was published as The Silver Locusts, not as The Martian Chronicles. Then, years later, they included that story in the American edition, but there was one story that was about race. It was about all the Black people going to Mars. And it's a very good story, but Ray felt that it was outdated by the time, by the latter part of the 20th century. So he took that story out, put the fire balloons in, and then changed the dates, updated the dates of the future time that we'd be going to Mars, because in the original version, it'd be like 1999. And obviously if it was a new edition that was coming out in 1999, the dates would wouldn't make sense. So he moved the dates forward. So just be aware that depending on which version you buy, that'll determine on which of the stories are in it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good news. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's a terrific book. It's a terrific book. Now, if you want to be insane, you'd buy the complete Martian Chronicles, which I wrote an introduction to, which includes all the excise stories and all sorts of stuff. And but that's I think that's probably a couple $100, and you really don't want to go there. So
Not worth it.
yeah, but you can get a perfectly fine copy for just a couple bucks, you know. So it's absolutely. So but the story, by the way, the story about race is called Way Up in the Middle of the Air, and about the Black people going to Mars, and it's a terrific story. So so great. So anything else, Carol?
No, I'm real good. Thank you.
Yay! 3 cheers. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, our next Mr. Sci-Fi question is from Glinzer, who asks, what are your favorite sci-fi films from this century?
From this century? The Martian is definitely one of my favorites. I think it's terrific. I don't remember what year Prometheus came out. It's not a good movie, but it's a gorgeous movie. If you turn the sound off, it's quite entertaining. And what else do I like? I mean, I'd have to go through my collection, you know, frankly. There's a bunch of stuff I've liked. You know,
There's our Arrival, Ex Machina, and Interstellar.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good. A Blade Runner 2049 I thought was really good. I thought it got a bad break in terms of it wasn't financially successful, but I thought it was a really very interesting sequel to the original movie, which is one of my favorites. So I liked that.
What was that new one that you liked? Something in the Clouds?
Cloud.
World War II?
No. That was that one with the World War II bomber. I can't remember the name of it. But
Shadow in the Clouds.
Shadow in the Clouds was fun, but that's mainly just kind of a popcorn movie. Cloud Atlas is a very interesting film. It's flawed, but really interesting. The Wachowski sisters, they've both now become women. The Wachowski sisters did it. They used to do the Wachowski brothers when they did The Matrix. And you know, but so that's it. Yeah, I'll come up with a more. Oh, but actually, a couple things I should mention. Very important. I just posted the entire high school play of Alien on Mr. Sci-Fi, thanks to Dave Edison. So if you haven't seen it, these kids put on as a high school play Alien, and they built everything from scratch: the chest burster, the alien costume, the space suits, the 15-foot space jockey. I flew to New Jersey to see it and to mentor the kids and advise them, and it's well worth checking out. Sigourney Weaver showed up as a surprise to introduce the play to the audience, and that was great. And I'm about to post a video I just did on some of my favorite stories set on Mars, and that should be a lot of fun. I talked for about a half hour, so I'll be posting that after this one. So let's see.
And I got your 1984 intros and working on that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I got your 1984 right here. So, but yeah, we're going to be doing a multi-part series, sharing a number of audio and video versions of 1984 by George Orwell. Interestingly enough, his real name was Eric Blair. And he wrote under the pen name George Orwell. So Eric Blair is a fine writer's name. I think that would have worked. So okay, let's see who's next. Michael Pickett, you've been waiting for a long time. Why don't we take you?
Hey, how's it going?
Great.
My name is Michael. Nathaniel Freeman invited me to this group. It's my second time. I was here last week too.
Great.
But yeah, I'm a new actor. I lived in Los Angeles for about a year, and about a week ago I had to move back home.
Well, where's home? Oh, I'm sorry. Where?
Houston, Texas.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted advice on just an actor starting out. Yeah, I just I guess I would like to come back to LA. Yeah. But I'm stationed in Houston, Texas, and just think advice will be helpful.
Well, yeah. What amongst the things I would suggest. Obviously, if you can get back to LA when the pandemic's over, do so, because, you know, this is, I mean, for the larger roles, they'll cast actors who live elsewhere, but for the smaller roles, they want you to be a local hire, you know, whether it's LA or Atlanta. It's a good practice to have friends who have places in those different cities, so you can say I'm a local hire, so you can audition for Atlanta or New York or LA, you know. And there are tables now there's one in New York, an offshoot of this group, and I'm trying to remember, and I think there's one in Atlanta as well. God knows, but there's certainly actors from the table in Atlanta. But the main thing fortunately, definitely learn how to self-tape, because that's how auditions are done now.
That is one important thing. That if you get to see the bios of some of the actors who carved out their own career, is that they didn't let anyone define them. What's my type? I mean, I just hate it when an actor says that. And so what you say is that people don't seem to have much imagination.
Yes.
So in your self-tape, to work on roles and pick roles that you really can feel, where you know the word indicating?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. Good.
So
good.
It's where there's no indicating, where everything comes from in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're angry, if you're shouting, it doesn't matter if you're really quiet.
Right.
It's that if in here you're feeling it, then I will believe it. So the thing is to find roles that people might not see you in, but you understand the gut of the guy, right? You understand who this person is, you understand their journey, and you have the courage to explore it.
Yes.
To show it. And so find character role. I think all good roles are character roles.
Yes.
So find something where you feel you could just kick the hell out of it, whether it's a quiet scene or a loud scene. The important thing is that you define you.
Right.
And just blow it out of the water in that way. And don't be timid. Just find characters that you say, that is a truth. This is a truth.
The main thing about acting is being in the moment and being real, being believable, and also interesting. And and working on your craft, learning, acting, it's very important for actors to be in class as much as they can be, and to be learning from people who know what they're talking about. There's a lot of acting teachers who are idiots, and you don't want to be taught by someone who's a moron.
And pretty toxic.
Yeah, or someone who's toxic.
If you don't feel safe in your class, just walk right out.
But it's very important to really practice your craft. And the reason is because, particularly in television, they're moving so quickly that you have to be able to summon it up at the drop of a hat. So in other words, let's say you do a scene and it goes great, but the camera didn't arrive in time, or a light blew, or something was wrong with the sound, and they say, okay, going again. You got to be able to go back right into that emotion and into that moment and be equally good again. And that's craft. That's where craft will serve you enormously. And be a worker among workers, be pleasant. Don't bring your personal dramas onto the set. Show up on time, be ready, have your lines memorized. It's obvious stuff, but you'd be amazed at how many people just don't work at it as if it's a job. It's like, you wouldn't expect like a brain surgeon to not know how to do brain surgery, And so if you're an actor, we have to take it seriously. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants. You can't. You have to really, really learn how to do it well.
But one thing you can take advantage of while you're away.
Yes.
So you don't scattershot, which is a tremendous waste of time, is to make a list of the films that you really love.
Yes.
And who are the directors, producers, and writers
whose work you love,
films that you really cue into.
Yes.
Because it's really soul killing to work with people who have no taste.
Yes. Well, so you make a list of 50 to 100 people who are doing the work you most admire in Hollywood, writers, directors, actors, producers, and all these people are doing stuff online. I mean, they'll be giving talks, they'll be teaching. There's master classes that you can sign up for. Also, I mean, think about who you want to work with and who you want to learn from. And that's going to be invaluable, because the reason I've succeeded in my career as much as I have is that I learned from people who were my heroes, and I mean directly from them. And that was, I mean, my God, you find that the solutions they arrive at, sorry, I'm putting this over there. The solutions they arrive at are completely different from what people who don't know what they're doing. If someone has not succeeded at what you want to succeed at, how can they tell you how it works? How can they tell you what works?
And once you find someone whose work you like,
Yes.
See where there's congruity between you and them.
Yes.
I mean, do you love dogs? Do they love dogs?
Yeah.
Do you have a political stance that they share with you? You know, I'm a big bug in terms of people. I love people who reflect kindness.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
like I was just reading a Tennessee Williams book, not a particularly successful one, but
yes.
in the moments it was successful, because although his life was kind of a mess and the book didn't come together, the moments were so true and
Yes.
so kind.
Yes.
Had such a kind view, you know, really destroyed, screwed up people, but they were still had this basic sense of human decency. So whatever is real, so that stuff is really important to me, because that's what I cue into as an artist.
Right.
So think of just the people who, one, the stuff is good, the stuff feels true to you, and 3, it reflects a perspective that you feel is human.
Yeah. But that's some of it. You can
Yeah.
also make your own stuff, you know, get together with other people who want to make a film or shorts, you know, and just do it. I mean, you know, I have my own YouTube channel, Mr. Sci-Fi, and I've got, you know, 80-something thousand subscribers and millions of hits, and it's free. You know, I mean, my God, I can reach people around the world for no money, you know, and it pays me, you know, and so
But
how cool.
But the one thing I think everybody here who's had any kind of experience at all will share with you is, even if they're doing it for free and you're happy to have the help,
Yes.
if they come across as a dilettante,
that means someone who doesn't mean it, someone who's full of shit.
They don't show up on time.
Right.
They're playing at it. They're giving you grief. They're not learning their lines.
Yeah, don't hang out with assholes.
Just, it doesn't matter. It's like, you're a serious actor.
Yes.
Walk away.
Yes, and I will tell you how to do something that will get everyone to pay attention to you. I came up with this idea. I'm not suggesting you do it, but I've been suggesting it to actors, because I came up with an idea that I think would get everyone to pay attention, and for an actor. And what it is it's called Me on Every Show. And what you would do is, there's over 500 scripted comedy and drama shows on the air right now in America. And what you would do is, every day for like a year and a half, you would just reenact a scene from a TV show, and you would play all the roles, little girls, old men, anything. You'd be all the characters reenacting that scene, and people would start watching your channel because they'd say, okay, what's that crazy person going to do this time? And then you're doing a scene from ER, or you're doing a scene from, you know, anything, you know, what, you know, insert name here, you know, Insecure, you know, or you know, whatever, and Westworld, you know, it was. I'm not saying you should do that, Michael, but I'm just saying that the actor who chooses to do that and really goes for it will instantly be the next cool thing that people are checking out. So, you know, but that's some of it. Any other questions?
No, I mean, that was great so far.
Okay, well, cool. Well, we try not to suck. And again, for those who don't know who Elaine and I are, we're writer, producer, directors. We've done hundreds of hours of network TV, bestsellers in fiction and nonfiction, earned millions of dollars from our writing, and you know, stuff like that. So, okay, cool. So, what is there another Mr. Sci-Fi channel? Mr. Sci-Fi channel. Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam. For those who don't know, we're simulcasting between my YouTube channel and the table.
So we have another question from Mark Lungo.
Hi, Mark.
We were talking about rebooting universes earlier.
Yes.
He wants to know, what would you personally do with Babylon 5? Handed the keys to the kingdom.
That is not a show I want to go anywhere near. That's Joe Straczynski's, and so, you know, let him do whatever the hell he wants to do with it. You know, I wrote for it back in the day, but yeah, that's. I mean, you know, it's funny. I'd be willing, like with Rod Serling's After Twilight, I'm willing to take a run at Rod's work, but generally, if there's a show that's a classic, and the creator of that show is still around, it's like, okay, let him do more. Like with Roddenberry, when he came up with Star Trek: The Next Generation, it's like, okay, he was the guy to do that. It wouldn't have been good if it had been like, you know, Aaron Sorkin's Star Trek or whatever, you know. I mean, that'd probably be an interesting show. Walk with me, and they're walking down the hall of a, you know, starship or whatever. But, you know, but yeah. So if Joe wants to do more of Babylon 5, more power to him. And you know, so that's my thought about that. So let's see. So next on my screen is Dale. You're up if you want to take your turn.
Hey everybody. How y'all doing?
Hi.
I heard a little mention about, excuse me, Sacramento Music Service.
Yes.
A little while back. I've done 5 musicals there.
Wow.
And it's a lot of work, and it's very hot.
Oh, really?
I'm there now.
Oh, really? What are you doing?
I'm in Folsom.
Folsom.
So which is Sacramento.
All right.
Yeah, but by Folsom you mean the town, not the prison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to really always make that point, Earl. You know, really.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Everything's been okay. Like Dave said earlier, I got my one and done shot. I've been looking for the longest time, and a friend gave me a link.
Great.
On Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
And Tuesday morning I had a shot.
That's great. Congratulations.
Really, really cool. Yeah.
That's great.
I have no side effects.
Great.
I don't think. Oh yeah, I lost my hair. But as far as work goes, still doing a bunch of I guess voiceover work. The thing that I just finished with the Antaeus Theater Company called the Zip Code Plays. It's being mixed right now. I think it's going to be airing sometime late May because they have to add in all the sound effects and the stuff. The show, the 20-minute play that I'm in is called Pacoima, Golden Shine. It's very, I'm not much of a science fiction type of person, but I'm guessing this really falls into the area of sci-fi, my character, and what happens to the leading lady in this. So much so, I told the writer that I thought it was very visual, and I would like to take a stab at doing the short film version of it.
That's great.
So hopefully I can get, some help later on down the road. But
sure.
When it gets closer to airtime, I'll
Yes.
give everybody the details because I think it's a terrific story by a playwright who never ceases to amaze me.
Have fun. That's great.
I guest starred on Mom. I think it was last month.
Fun.
So little by little, this little character actor keeps chugging along. Just when I think I'm tired of it, somebody throws a bucket of money at me. I go, okay, well, sure.
Yeah, and money's very helpful. It comes in very handy. So
money does help.
Yep.
Money does help.
Yep.
It helped pay for this. So
yes, and well, one thing I'll say about Hollywood, one of the things I actually love about Hollywood is that you can literally labor for decades, getting very little accomplished, and then overnight you play that role that makes you put you on the map. I mean, Ruth Gordon is such a great example. Ruth Gordon was this actress, and she was in a bunch of stuff over the years, but she didn't become a star. And then she was in Harold and Maude, and became in her, I guess, 80s? Well, she was in Rosemary's Baby, of course, but I mean, as an old lady, she finally became a star. And that's so great, and I know writers who, George Bernard Shaw did not write his first play until he was in his 40s. And so it's really cool that in the arts one can actually break through anytime. There's always, you can never say to someone, well, you're too old for something magical to happen. It's never too late, really. So that's really, really cool. Anyway, just to extemporize. So anything else, Dale? Anything else you need?
No, the young man I was speaking earlier in terms of acting tips and whatnot.
Yeah, Michael.
I've been doing this for 43 years, man. So anything you wanna know, just let me know.
Yeah. Beware, acting is addictive. It is addictive.
Yeah. But it's the great part about working in film and television is that the work you do lasts, and that's really great. There's stuff I wrote, 30 years ago that people are still watching and being entertained by, so that's really great. And literally with the original Star Trek, you have actors now in their 80s who worked for a day, 3 days, and they're earning money signing photos of themselves in those roles that they did on Star Trek. I mean, it's just amazing. And same with Twilight Zone. So it's I thank God that actors can now sell signed photos if they played, you know, notable roles somewhere. They didn't used to be able to do that. You know.
Yeah.
So,
If you really want to see a ridiculous Jerry curl, go back to Hill Street Blues.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was long and drippy.
Well, there you go. Yeah, but you know, well, my appearance on the Today Show, I've got a perm, you know, and that's that was in the day. So there you go. So great. Well, 3 cheers, Dale. Yay! Good to see you as always. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question from Bob Rich, who asks, "What are some movies, TV shows, and books that you find especially poetic? And what are the techniques and ingredients they used to make their work so lyrical?"
Yes. You have to be very careful about poeticism because it can really come across badly if you know, and so one has to be very sparing. The Martian Chronicles, I think, really hits the right note. The Martian Chronicles is extremely lyrical and poetic without being sappy, you know, and, you know, in terms of, I mean, there are certain poets that I particularly like. Carl Sandburg is very, very good. Walt Whitman is terrific. Some of Yeats I like. Some of Dylan Thomas. And Robert Frost, you know, has some good ones. Moby Dick is a great book. It's got a lot of excess to it, but the movie that Ray wrote for John Huston of Moby Dick with Gregory Peck is great. You know, it's just you know, I'm less of a fan of Ray Bradbury's poetry because he became a poet for about a decade, and his poems were every now and then he'd write a good one, but mostly they were the reason I don't read poetry. What's that, Dave? I can't see it. It's getting reflection. Oh, you have to unmute.
It's just something I have on my wall, The Road Not Taken.
Yes, yes, by Robert Frost. Yes. I love the poem Ozymandias. That's a great poem. You know, so there's some bits and pieces, but most people who try to write poetry or write poetically should do something else. You know, so but and I like Charles Bukowski. I think the problem with Bukowski is that he's very repetitive, and so you can only read him in short doses, because if you start reading a bunch of his stuff in one sitting, you see that he's just kind of going around the same track, which is ironic, of course, because he went to the races all the time. So okay, so there you go. But if you want to know some of my favorite Mars stories, I'm about to post that, and I think you'll find a lot of cool stuff in there. Let's see who's next. I'm looking. So I guess Benjamin and Emily. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh, we can't hear you yet. Oh, there you go. Yeah, we can. We can't see you. Not, you know, you're so we're not on screen.
I really appreciate it. The encouragement you gave the young fellow from Houston who want to get into the acting business.
Yes, yes.
I can relate to that conversation you had with him, because at 14 years old, I got Quincy Jones, the writers, and Count Basie's band, Duke Ellington. I was fortunate enough to meet a musician that lived in Buffalo, where I live, that had been in them orchestras. And so years later, when we did Carnegie Hall together, I asked him, I said, "Joe, why did you take up so much time with me when I was a kid in Buffalo?" He said, "Because you had so much nerve."
Yes. Yes.
And I would give him a fit about how come it can't be written like this. So you can write it like that if you want to, but nobody's going to know what you're doing but you. And I was interested in learning how to orchestrate for Chinese music. So just hearing you guys talk to him with the kindness and the patience and compassion you had, it really took me back, and I want to.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks a lot. And one thing I'll say in that regard also is, ignore anyone who says you don't have any chance. Ignore anyone who says the odds are too long. You know, the odds are too hard, or that there's a million people doing it. No, there's only one person doing it, and it's you. And so any decision you make in terms of your art, you're the majority vote, because you outnumber the world in terms of your life. Your life is yours.
Especially if your family is the ones that are saying these things.
Right, yeah. I mean, you know, when you're rich and successful, you can have people pick them up and drive them out to the desert, you know, and leave them there. So, you know, that's something to aspire to, definitely. So, but getting back to you, Benjamin and Emily, how are you guys doing?
Well, you know what I'm looking for now? all my recordings always been in the studio with full orchestras. But now with this Zoom recording remote, I haven't done any of that. So I'm getting to the point in another couple of weeks, I'm gonna be ready to get that done. So I'm gonna post the look for someone who has experience with that. Some engineer might have his home set up where, because now
I'm right here.
Yeah, Earl is the guy.
Send me an email, earlfsmith@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You came out a few minutes ago, and first thing Emily said, "Dad, you got to contact him." So you're on Emily, my daughter's radar list. So we'll get in touch with you because now, guys, in different countries, man. So anyway, that's where I am.
They're doing WonderCon and Comic-Con virtually again for the second year in a row.
Yep. And so, Emily, is there anything you need?
Well, I am working on a project for Comic-Con, so
great.
If anybody like records like Zoom, like Zoom for panels, then I could use some help with that.
Okay, sure. Adam can coordinate with you, and David Bartlett too. So sure, you bet.
He'll wake up soon from his shot.
Yeah, he's gone into hibernation.
So he was sleepy.
So anything else that you guys need?
No, right now that's where we are right now. I know
Great.
Emily putting a panel together. I think she needs 2 or 3 more people.
Great.
To complete it, but she's talking to the guy you just mentioned. Hopefully they can get that together. But
cool.
She got called back for a second time this year, so we're very happy that she got called a second time.
Great. That's great. And again, I remember when Emily, when you and I were talking a few weeks back about the whole role of autism and Asperger's in science fiction. I think it's a really interesting subject. One major person who has Asperger's and only came out publicly about that in recent years is Joe Straczynski, who created Babylon 5. And I think a lot of science fiction, big name science fiction luminaries are on the autism spectrum one way or another. So it's a very interesting subject, just to let you know.
She's working on that too. I'm going to encourage her to send you out an email so she can get the information
cool.
Her so she can write it down.
Sure. Yeah, you bet.
As always, it's a pleasure attending the meetings, and I'll be glad when time comes we all can sit back in that room.
That'll be fun. We look forward to it. Well, thanks. Good to see you guys. And just one other thing I wanted to add for Michael Pickett. Here's the greatest thing about being an actor right now. When I started writing for TV when I was 22 or 23. And until through the 90s, if I wanted to write a black character, I had to say in the script that it was a black character. And if it was Latino, I had to say Latina, Latino. And they would say to me, "Can this be a white character?" And I would say no. But you had to be really specific. And the other part was, like, when I was a story editor on Friday the 13th, the series, we would have people coming in, writers coming in to pitch every single day. And I noticed that they were all white males. And I say, well, can we change that? Can we start getting people of other ethnicities and races and women? Yeah. And they started sending those people in. And for many of them, it was their first sale, and that started their careers in the industry. I found that the racism and the sexism was not deep rooted, but you needed somebody to say, let's do it differently. And but now when they say, yes, we're open to black leads and so on and so forth, they mean it. Back, there was a period maybe 10, 15 years ago when they didn't. But then, of course, Shonda Rhimes. But see, the only color that Hollywood really cares about is green, And so because of Shonda Rhimes making a ton of money now, and with Bridgerton and things like that being successful, it's like they mean it. And so the kinds of roles you will be able to go out for are very, very different from what it would have been 10, 15 years ago. Right. Now, that said, there'll still be the stereotypical roles, but you don't have to go out for those. And I really cringe when my poor friends who are black or who are Latino have, where they're auditioning for like gang leaders or things like that. It's like, there was an actor at the beginning of his career years ago who said, at the beginning of his career, he said, I've decided I'm not going to audition for any criminal roles or as a servant. He was black, young black man. And an actress I knew who was black also said to him, well, you're not going to get any roles then. And he said, nevertheless, that's my thing. No criminals and no servants. And that was Denzel Washington at the beginning of his career. So he set what he stood for at the beginning. Now, once, of course, he was successful, and a movie star. Then he could be in things like Training Day, but that wasn't a stereotypical criminal. That was a really interesting character that he played in that movie, right? And so again, we define who we are creatively. And you, as Elaine said earlier, you must not let others define you. The quality of the work you do will define you. Does that make sense?
Make 1,000%.
Yeah.
Because the guy sitting right behind you, if you blink your eye and he hear your recording, you'll hear your recordings and idea on the radio, and you never been in the studio. So it's like what Elaine said, zip it, talk to the right people, and then you stand by your work.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, somebody's gonna say, you know, this guy got a good idea. Let's give him a shot.
Yeah.
And that's the way it happened.
That's right. Exactly. Great, guys. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question after my long-winded speeches?
Yes. We have a question from Guylinda B.
Hi.
Who asks, does post-apocalyptic fall under the umbrella of science fiction?
Yes.
Or is it subjective?
No, it's no. Oh, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Adam.
For example, The World, the Flesh, and the Devil is listed as sci-fi.
Yeah, it is. Post-apocalyptic stories are a subgenre of science fiction. What can be very confusing is that, particularly in previous decades, but even now, some science fiction is marketed as mainstream fiction or mainstream movies. So, for instance, On the Beach, which is very much a science fiction post-apocalyptic story, was marketed as mainstream fiction and made as a big mainstream movie with, you know, Gregory Peck in the lead. But yeah, it definitely is. I mean, Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-Five is science fiction, Cat's Cradle is science fiction, Timequake is science fiction, Sirens of Titan, Player Piano. I mean, Kurt Vonnegut was essentially a science fiction writer who dabbled in mainstream, but his books, once he was successful, his books were all marketed as mainstream fiction. So, and that was an economic choice rather than any stylistic choice. He was determined to not be ghettoized in the science fiction genre, because that would mean he would be earning less money. So, and gaining less critical, approbation. So yeah, absolutely. So let's see who's next. So Mark Gushewitz, the wonderful Mark Gushewitz, a man among men.
I just want to mention that I think Dale's cat should get a turn, because he's been sitting there very, very patiently staring at the screen through most of this, wanting his turn. I've never seen a cat, and I have 4 of them, sit so patiently before in my life.
Well, yeah.
I'm very entertained watching that cat tonight. Anyway, so I think my computer also recognized that today was April Fool's Day, as it is messing with me all day.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
I was supposed to do all this work so I could get together with Earl after this meeting to do work on sound. But instead, I've been trying to figure out how to get resolved to stop messing with my head as I was trying to export color correction, and it wasn't letting me do it in any way, shape, or form. And it turned out I had 45 gigabytes of trash in my trash folder, and after 4 hours of trying to figure it out, the minute I emptied that, everything went back to normal.
Cool.
It's been an interesting week. It's one of those weeks where I feel like I'm doing a lot but not getting a lot done for some reason. Like it's Thursday already, and I'm like, what happened to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday?
Yep.
Been working on color correction on my short film, which I think is mostly done, which is why I was trying to export it. Going over sound and music with Earl on the short film, deciding that we're going to forget about the music for a little bit and just concentrate on sound design.
Yes.
It's going to be a good thing, because me personally, I'm having a hard time judging the music without the sound design being complete.
Yes.
Because I feel like the sounds will affect how much music we need. And so my work, the way I work, I think I need to finish sound design. Just set up a meeting with Joseph Doherty to come on my podcast.
Cool.
Great.
So we can discuss what we're going to talk about, because he told me it's a real interesting, he wants to do a movie that kind of fits into the realm of what I'm doing, but he says he's got a real interesting take on it that will be very different than what people generally talk about when they talk about this movie. So I'm really interested in that.
Cool.
I think it's going to be great.
By the way, I was reminded that Joe had a really good take on Harvey.
On
you
what?
See that?
Which on which? Harvey.
Yeah. 1995, 96. The late Harry Anderson playing the Jimmy Stewart role.
I haven't seen the Harry Anderson one, although the poster looks almost identical.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you take a work like that and update it, but he really did put his own spin on it. Leslie Nielsen's in it, so find it if you can.
That's interesting. You know, it's funny because with Harvey, Jimmy Stewart, of course, is associated so totally with that role. But when he took it over on stage initially, before he made the movie, there was another actor who had established himself in the lead, and Jimmy Stewart felt that he was never going to be able to come up to that level. He felt very intimidated by it, and then, of course, made it his own. And the movie is terrific. I highly recommend Harvey to anyone who hasn't seen it. So, but go ahead, Mark Gushwitz.
The film that Joe is going to be talking about is from, I think, from the 50s. It's a sci-fi movie that a lot of people have heard of and has an audience from back then, but not necessarily an audience from today. And all the big monster movies that are coming out, not only like Godzilla vs. Kong, but all the Asylum stuff and everything. I think it's going to be a really great conversation to introduce people who are watching the monster movies today to this old film that is not generally in the conversation when people talk about big monster movies, but probably is one of the best of the ones ever.
Knowing Joe, I think I can guess.
Which one is it? Which one is it?
It's the movie Them.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep, that's it.
When
people talk about those movies from back then, they're always mentioning like Godzilla and Mothra. I only ever hear them mentioned when I bring it up.
Yeah.
And it has a pretty big audience, but I think it'll be really cool to introduce this movie to maybe, audiences of today. So I think certain movies like that actually really hold up.
Yeah.
And it all can also lead to conversations of underseen movies of today that are very much like them.
Yes.
Like Freaks and there's a movie called Big Ass Spider, which if you haven't seen, it is a fantastic budget film from a couple of years ago.
Cool.
You hear the name and you're like, what? But it's just a great movie. So we've set up an initial meeting to kind of 15 minutes go over what I'm going to ask him, so that he's prepared. And then I think it's the last week of this month, we'll be recording him as my second recording. As the third week, I'll be recording a friend of mine who's got a fantastic film. I'm not going to say what, but it'll be my first episode. He's going to talk about a fantastic film.
Great.
I'm going to try and get him to talk about his time working with Ray Harryhausen as well.
Cool.
He ran Marvel Animation for a while, and I was talking to him about his, what made him fall in love with movies, and he started talking about the Harryhausen movies and how he was working with Ray when Ray Harryhausen died.
Wow.
So I want to talk about all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm really looking forward to all of this.
Wow.
Now, if I can just get my computer to stop playing jokes on me, I'll be good to go. For people who don't know me, I'm an editor. I edit anything that comes my way on the computer. I just finished doing some credits for James Kinnear and David Bartlett. So I can pretty much... I don't turn down anything, and if I don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out. So
cool.
I'm available, and if you just need any help on anything else, I'm generally available as long as I got the, as long as it's not at a time when I'm doing something else.
Yes.
With the pandemic, there's a lot of free time.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, yay! 3 cheers. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question comes from Rook Mountain.
Yeah, great.
And they ask, what do you think of Peter Hyam's take on A Distant Sound of Thunder?
I hated it. It's not a distant sound of thunder. It's a sound of thunder by Ray Bradbury. It's one of the great short stories ever written. It's a great time travel story. It's been done on radio. It's been done in EC Comics, though they didn't do the final line, which was that's the great final line of a short story. The movie, it's a short story. It can't really work as a feature, and so it was just crappy. Some of his other movies I like. 2010 isn't bad. Outland's pretty fun. But that movie I do not need to see again. So, so that's, yeah. It's funny because Ray Bradbury and I would often talk about the various adaptations of his work, most of which he didn't like. He and I both like the Francois Truffaut Fahrenheit 451 with Oscar Werner. Oscar Werner was in the Wehrmacht during World War II. He was very anti-war, and he wasn't a Nazi, but he was in the German army in World War II. So he really understood the authoritarian rule and the role of, the dissenter in that world. And Oscar Werner is a phenomenal actor. So that's the Ray Bradbury movie that I love. So, but there's others too, but we'll talk about that another time. So, okay, great. So now, Ming Cheng, you're the next on the screen.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. It's my second time here. So my name is Ming. I would like to ask your suggestions about. I'm now an international student in New York City.
Yes.
And I graduated this summer. I have actual year to stay in the United States. Probably there will be more opportunities in the future, but I'm considering a move to LA.
Yes, the weather's better.
Some suggestions of where can I start as a composer there?
Yes, well, first of all, LA is a great place to live, and there's a town in LA called West Hollywood that has rent control, which is just fabulous. We've lived there for many years. We're there now. It's in terms of how to get work as a composer. There are many composers who are members of the table who are based here in LA. So I think if you put out an email to the table just saying, I'm open to suggestions for how one gets rolling, often assisting another composer who's more established works really well. So in some ways, reaching out to some composers whose work you like can be a very good way to kind of get your foot in the door. I know that like Hans Zimmer has worked with younger composers. A lot of them do because they get too much work and they need people to help them. One of our composers, Dave Edison. What's the other composer's name? The one who has a kid and blah blah.
Yes, my brain no work no more.
Uh-oh, shit. He hasn't been, but anyway, he was actually a ghost composer for a very well-known movie and TV composer when he's not writing under his own name. So it's Alan Darian, and I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you, so absolutely. And, but yeah, there's a number of composers. So I would start just emailing people, table members, because they'll be a little more, willing to help,
Alan's pretty good about responding on Facebook too.
He's a good guy. And
he's composer for the
Madam Secretary.
Yeah, Madam Secretary.
Yeah, and also if you ever watched the Star Trek episode that I directed with George Takei and co-wrote and executive produced, he's the composer on that. He did a great job. So yeah. So anything else?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Yay. But also another thing is that LA has great weather. I mean, when New York is frozen and horrible, LA is just paradise every day. I mean, my gosh, the sky's always blue. Everyone has a smile on their face. There's nothing like it. So except for Dave Edison, but he doesn't go outside, so that's the problem. I mean, you could be in Brooklyn, for all the
I bring the Bronx with me.
You do. Exactly. That's your motto. Exactly. Yes. But I was born in Santa Monica. Family moved to West LA. That's where I grew up. And so that's what I've heard there's this cold stuff that comes from the sky and you can make balls out of it and throw them at each other. But that's just I think it's an urban myth. So anyway, okay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, our next question is from NEB Inskip.
Okay.
And they ask, what do you think about the latest Battlestar Galactica reboot that is talking about an experimental release involving different length episodes?
Well, I mean, the modern platforms allow an episode to be whatever it needs to be. I mean, for instance, so that's, I think various lengths are now perfectly fine in television. The real question is what's going to be in those various lengths. I mean, I thought Ron Moore did a brilliant job of making Battlestar Galactica worth watching. It's one of the few examples of a mediocre show that's rebooted as a terrific show. The ending of it was very weird, God is real and we're angels kind of thing. But, it kind of veered into this spirituality that was very surprising. But it's still a terrific show. The new one, I don't know how it's going to be. I mean, they've tried so many times to reboot Battlestar Galactica with very, differing results. So, but we'll see. I mean, I have an open mind until I see what they do badly. So, but by the way, I've been going through my collection. I found some comic books I haven't seen in many, many years. And I thought it'd be fun to show 3 covers just to see how different artists did similar themes. So this is Mystery in Space from the early 60s. That's artwork by Carmine Infantino, inks by Murphy Anderson. Murphy Anderson actually signed this to me. And then that's from the 60s. This is from the 50s. Oh, well, here, I'll show it to the Mr. Sci-Fi fans too. So there's Mystery in Space, Adam Strange. It's a terrific story. This is the Weird Science cover by Wally Wood of a weightless guy in a spaceship with his dog floating. This is from the 50s. A great, great comic book, Weird Science. You probably can't see it for all the glare, but it's great. And then in the later 60s, Jim Steranko did his take on that Adam Strange cover, and he did Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if you can see that, but it is a great, great, great piece of artwork. Just really phenomenal. And Steranko was really revolutionary in his time. So anyway, just kind of fun. So, okay. So let's see. So I guess, Earl, you're next on my list.
Hello, everyone. Earl F. Smith, multi-award-winning composer, film composer, sound editor, sound designer.
Cool.
Educator. I guess I got to say that now.
Yep.
What am I doing in Sacramento? Living in Folsom. Opened a studio in El Dorado Hills and have 45 private students. So I thought so many people while I was in LA, I would see people move from other places to LA and they would have this support system from people where they're coming from. And since I grew up in Orange County, I haven't had that. So I thought I'd come up here, make some money, use that money to hire players, really, to get more involved in orchestration with orchestras to prove to others that, hey, I could do something with a good budget when it comes to sound and with live players. I have a question for you, Mark.
Sure.
So I watched the new Kong movie, and they have parts of the film where they go into Middle Earth.
Huh? How wacky!
I just want to know what you thought about Middle Earth and just that concept in film.
Well, you mean like the Tolkien Middle Earth? That's the one I know about. Tolkien did it fine. I haven't seen the new Kong movie. God knows. But if anyone has not seen the 1933 King Kong, it is one of the greatest films ever made. It is just astonishing. And they made a sequel the same year, Son of Kong. Again, stop motion animation, phenomenal stuff. It was just the Star Wars of its era. It had an enormous impact on Ray Harryhausen. It had an enormous impact on Ray Bradbury. It's just, I love that film. Fay Wray is spectacular. An interesting thing that most people don't know is Fay Wray was not a blonde. She was actually a brunette. And so during the days she was shooting King Kong wearing a blonde wig, and at night on the exact same sets, while they were shooting King Kong, she was shooting another movie for RKO called The Most Dangerous Game with Joel McCrea, and she would be a brunette in that movie, and then the next day she put back on the blonde wig to be in King Kong, and she shot the 2 movies simultaneously. And so it's really interesting to watch that other movie and just see this strange duality going on. But the original King Kong is just breathtaking and utterly one of a kind. So really,
the remake of Mighty Joe Young, which wasn't bad for what it was, had that nice moment with Terry Moore and Ray Harryhausen.
Yes, yes, yes. And, you know,
It
but
reminds me of someone.
that's funny.
You, dear, when I met you or something. To that
Yeah,
effect.
well, again, yeah. But Willis O'Brien, who animated Kong, was one of a kind. An interesting film to watch is the silent version of The Lost World that he also animated in the 20s. It's a great film. It has Wallace Beery in it, and it's again, as a precursor to King Kong, it's really something. The other thing, another little interesting bit of information about King Kong is that Ernest Schoedsack and Marion C. Cooper, who were the two producers, had actually been world adventurers. They'd made a lot of documentaries in far off lands, and the language that the natives speak in King Kong, the islanders, is actually a real foreign language, an islander language. It's not made up. It's not Hollywood gibberish. So there you go. Stranger than fiction. Edward Wallace.
Cool.
Yeah. But Edward Wallace didn't create Kong. That's total bullshit. He died and blah blah blah. It's a myth.
Who wants to say the man who created King Kong on this?
Well, Marion C. Cooper and Ernest Schoedsack. There's a great book on the making of King Kong that I highly recommend. And but Marion C. Cooper and Ernest Schoedsack and Willis O'Brien were the three creative geniuses behind King Kong. So okay, but I digress. That's what I'm doing. Go ahead, Earl, please.
Oh, that was. I applied to UC Davis, their PhD program for music. I just got response yesterday, denial.
Bastards.
Due to they don't have room. And what it is the program is fully funded, so it's free.
Wow.
And when I was informed, I didn't know that when I was getting ready to apply, and I messaged the advisor, and that's what he responded with. And I talked to a couple of students, and I said, well, what if, and what happens is you end up working for the school and the department. And my thing is, like, right now I'm charging $38 for half-hour lessons, $76 an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, do I want to work $25 an hour versus what I'm doing now? So the next question now is to pull on them to see if I can fund myself.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd rather pay myself.
Yeah.
Well,
that's like when Elaine and I were doing the Super Mentors classes on our own. The reason we did them on our own was because when we were invited to teach at UCLA Extension, and the money was so ridiculously low, we could earn a huge amount more just doing it ourselves, and that worked very well for, over a decade. And, and finally we gave it up just because we got so busy with, Space Command and all the other things we're doing, which is a good reason to give up teaching, of course. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the trick with everything really is to say, how can I make this work for me? And then if they won't meet you where you need to be, then onward.
Whatever. I've and there it's Sac State and UC Davis. They're kind of siblings.
Yes.
And so I've actually gone at Sac State. They have a great facility where the rooms are acoustically balanced. So it's a great place to record. And that's more my mindset is I want to get in there, get with students who wants to work.
Yes.
I don't have to, if I pay low and record and do as many recordings as I can.
Yes.
And that's really my lesson is my learning. And then also the director from Black Panther, he went to Sac State for his undergrad and did their communications, and they have a great film. And it seems like their head of their film there is really has a mindset of making good material.
Yeah.
And I think I'm networking with those students and see where they lead to long term.
Yes.
And staying busy as I travel back and forth from LA. But once my daughter's done with school, I'm right back down there.
Great. And again, and this is an important point just to mention for everybody. Don't think that you just have one shot, and don't think that if you aren't in LA or make great work. Make work from your heart, make work that you passionately care about, get it out into the world. The internet is an enormously powerful tool. Ray Bradbury didn't go to college. He read from the first book in the library to the last book. He was self-educated. You do not have to jump through other people's hoops in order to get what you want,
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Earl, if you think a letter of recommendation from a distinguished alumnus might help, you might have to ask someone else. But a regular alumnus,
a regular guy, yeah, a C student.
I am an alumnus of that department.
Yeah,
so.
That's funny.
What I end up doing is, and I've learned this. I've learned this from Mark and Elaine, watching you guys and watching other people from the table, which the table is such a great community.
Yeah.
And I've learned the power of building relationships and using those relationships to connect others to build a community. So what I did initially, I started, since they post all the grads, the PhD students on their website, I started emailing them. And I found one guy who he wants to be a film composer. He's in their program, almost graduating, and did his dissertation on Mark.
That's
so
pretty
I
crazy.
said, okay. And I said, well, how legit is what you said?
Yeah.
I said, why don't you come meet Mark? And so he did. He came into a Zoom. I think he might be fearful because he hasn't connected with the community, but he was blown away. And I know he's going to go tell everyone
That's funny. That's funny.
And so, so if that works, great. If it doesn't, oh well. And like Mark said, move on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I never felt, even when I was getting my undergrad, that I needed school to validate me to do what I do. Now I've learned great stuff, through school, but it was the relationships. And I just was fortunate to study under Elizabeth Sellers, who built relationships with a lot of people and threw them my way, throw them at the students' way.
Yes.
So, but yeah, in that regard, I'm fortunate. But yeah, I totally agree. A lot, in my opinion, a lot of these professors are failed in the industry.
Yes.
They just go teach to make a living.
Yes. I mean, again, you're on the right track. Don't just stay on. I mean, as I've said before, for creative artists, there's a tuning fork inside, and it resonates to what brings you joy artistically. And the more you can listen to that tuning fork and be guided by it to do the work that you love, the better things will go. And everything I've done out of love in my life has worked. I mean, whether it's marrying Elaine or writing The Twilight Zone Companion or doing Space Command, or any of the things I've done. I mean, they've succeeded because I passionately cared about what I was doing,
Right.
And so that's, yeah. So anything else for now?
That's it. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, yay, 3 cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam.
Yes. But yeah, again, Earl, if you need me to make a phone call or send an email, let me know.
Awesome.
I think I still have some ties over there.
Yeah, awesome. I'll explore that to see who you know. Because even if I'm not there, who says I still can't make friends?
Yes.
Why can't I hang out?
No. Until absolutely. Until they get the restraining order, that's absolutely acceptable. You bet. That's
Next, Mr. Sci-Fi question is from Scott Baker, and he asks,
Scott.
Has a good sci-fi movie or TV show episode been made which gently yet deftly helps Americans widen their scope to appreciate that there really are equal minds on Earth besides Americans?
Yes. It's an interesting question. Star Trek, because it was so successful, and because Gene Roddenberry had a Russian character on the original Star Trek. He had, Uhura spoke Swahili. Sulu was named after the Sulu Sea, which is in Asia. The idea was that those characters were not all Americans. And Kirk was born in Iowa, but certainly Spock wasn't. And so the idea was to have people from different backgrounds, and science fiction, just by its very nature, is very, very inclusive. And so, Star Trek did that. 2001, because it was really looking at the issue of evolution, I think was very, very mind-opening in that way. There's a lot of stuff, that has that as a quality. Excuse me. So let's see. So Tamir Yarden. And I'll get the dogs and quiet them.
Tamir, are you there? Hello?
Cut it out, guys.
Here.
Go for it.
Hey.
Hi.
dog is adorable.
Thanks.
I got 4 of my own.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah, I was out when I called, so I don't have my my avatar or I'm a camera ready. I'm an actor, so
that's okay. That's okay.
I don't have any asks.
Okay.
Just want to say that I'm working with Michael Charles Lopez.
Great.
And Dave Edison.
Great.
Dave is an amazing editor.
Yes.
And, very much team player and open to suggestions, and he's doing really good.
Yeah.
So it's been a good piece of work. So it's a short film that we're working on.
Cool.
I'm an actor.
Great. Cool.
Writer director.
Great. Well, again, for those who are new to the table, the table is made up of thousands of members. We have offshoots all across the country. Normally, we meet in person at a restaurant, but of course, the pandemic made that interesting. But so there is a table email where you can send one email out to all several thousand members. So if you're not on the table email, Adam can connect you up with David Bartlett, who can connect you up with the email list. So so that'll be fine. So anything else you need right now?
No, that's it. Thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this, both of you guys.
Great.
It's amazing. And one quick thing.
Sure.
Just when people talk about the community and having this togetherness, you forget sometimes. And when someone brings up like, oh yes, this is what this is, it's nice to have that. So thank you for being here.
Of course, you're welcome. And the thing I'll tell you is that also, all the arrogance of Hollywood, all this asshole quality of Hollywood, the good people, the people doing the passionate work, the wonderful work, they're great. They're not snobs. They're not assholes. I wrote a book with Guillermo del Toro. He's a great guy. And many of the people I've worked with have been terrific. So don't worry that you have to become a jerk to have a successful career in Hollywood. The exact opposite is the case. People want to work with people they like. People want to work with people who do the job. People want to work with people who are not a handful. So it's just that the worst behavior often gets the most press.
Well, also you have to be a little bit careful because there tend to be in the business neurotic clusters, and
sounds like a breakfast cereal.
They seem to like stick in little clusters, and if there's healthy families and there's neurotic clusters, and then if you're in it, you say, "Oh well, it's not me; it's all these other people." But then it still seems to wear you down, and you start feeling that there's something wrong with you. So it's kind of this toxicity. It's kind of dangerous because you think you're going to keep a clear head, but they're all like reinforcing each other, and it's good to just like walk away. It gets inside you, no matter how smart you are.
There you go. So great. Yeah. Anything else, Tamir?
That's it. Thank
okay.
You.
Yay! 3 cheers. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have our next question from Wade, who I think is new. So welcome,
Great.
Wade.
Hi, Wade.
And his question is, how did you find your style of writing, and how did you know when it was you or right for you?
Well, it was funny when you said, how did I find my style of writing? I was tempted to say, well, it was just right there. The real answer is for me, I started by studying the work that I loved. So, for instance, the reason I wrote The Twilight Zone Companion was to learn how to write well and produce TV that was of quality. So I refined things that way by studying, Serling and Matheson and Beaumont and George Clayton Johnson and so forth. But also when Michael Reeves initially brought me into animation and I was writing show after show after show in very, very quick succession, I was writing so much. Like Michael Reeves and I wrote all the episodes of Pole Position, which was an animated show. We'd often be writing most of the episodes of most shows that we were writing on. You write so quickly that you learn, like structure became second nature to me, character voice, I got my craft by writing professionally. And then I was very ambitious. I still am. And so you just find the way, the key questions, what do I care about? What do I want to talk about in my writing? But the story and the project dictates the style. So for instance, when I wrote the Magic Time novels, I teamed for the first one with Barbara Hambly to learn how to write a novel. And she was more ornate than I was, but I became more ornate than I normally would have been, more wordy. and she became less ornate so that we could kind of meet in the middle stylistically. By the time I got to the third novel, I learned my craft and was just able, and Ray Bradbury, who was mentoring me at the time, said, just let it go, like just open to it and let it take you where it will take you. And so I enjoyed writing that book, even though it was a massive task. But with each book, I choose the style. And books are harder. Books are harder generally than scripts, in my experience. But I mean, Elaine has also been great because she'd read something of mine and say, no, this is crap, and then I'd throw it against the wall, and of course she would be right, and then I'd say, well, okay, what do we do about it? And and she'd often have the solution, and
you've gotten a lot better about the wall thing now.
I have. You've worn me down. I'm like a rock that has been worn by waters over many millions of years. But yeah. So that's how you just have to be. You have to be determined to get better at what you do, and you have to be open to listening to supportive, accurate criticism, and then you just go for it. You can't be perfect, but you can figure out what you're trying to say, and that's it. So I guess it's now your turn, Elaine, huh?
Oh, okay.
So go for it. I'll be right back.
Be right back.
Yeah,
okay.
Go for it.
Just keeping busy. We had the reading, and we're going to have another reading of Sweet Haven. Thank you. Of Sweet Haven. I'm a little bit fried because that we both put on a set of notes after the first reading, and I just finished the first pass of the first set of notes, and then Mark will be going over my corrections of those set of notes. So that was once you start fine tuning like that, it wasn't like there was a lot, but you really have to focus in and fine tuning. But that was a big relief because I finished that just before this. And it's going to be fun on Saturday because my DP, who asked me to help him with a rewrite on his great DP on his potential series that he optioned from a book, Mark and I are going down to see what his operation is like on Saturday. Yay! So I'll get to see my words spoken
by
actors.
Yes.
And so we could be there every day, but he's like shooting all the heck over. But so it's going to be a busy weekend, and but yeah, a lot is happening.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. So okay.
I guess that's it for me right now. Yeah.
Yay. But I mean, one of the fun things about a writer's job is that it takes you places you don't know you'll go. I mean, we certainly couldn't have known that we would have ended up writing. Elaine wrote, and we were producers on a miniseries based on Lord Peter Haynes' story of his family in South Africa opposing apartheid. And so that took us to South Africa. That took us to the House of Lords in London, where he now works as a lord in the House of Lords. And now Elaine is writing this mafia thing for Mossy, and writing about Rocco and ice picks and whatever the hell. And I mean, who would have thunk a vegetarian from where are you from originally, Elaine?
Well, that was it. Yeah.
No, where are you from originally?
Here.
No, not Los Angeles. I mean, where'd you grow up? South San Gabriel. South San Gabriel. We'll be writing about the Sicilian mafia.
Yeah. So
but there you go.
Just research the hell out of everything.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it takes
you by surprise.
Yeah, you wouldn't think a cheese grater would be used for torture, but
But you always do. One of the most important things is that no matter what you take something on, you do your absolute best. And we were talking, in fact, to a line producer who made the mistake of coming on, and we said, you're really doing a very third-rate job. And he said, well, but that's because the pay is low. And he said, when he looked at me and he said, well, if somebody's not paying you for a job,
paying you well,
then you do less work.
You do a less good job. Yeah.
And both Mark and I, it's sort of like, no, if you take the work.
We've both thought the same thing, which is we are done with you.
We're done with you. But if you take the work, you always do your best. And in this case, I wasn't getting paid. It was as a favor, but you always do the best you were allowed.
Yeah.
And so it was.
But the experience of watching, a guy being put into a cement mixer is invaluable.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a soul killer not to. That's
get
what
better.
We've got. Yeah.
But again, we always bring our A game. Whether I was writing Smurfs or Space Command or Star Trek: The Next Generation, I bring my A game. I mean, it's Sliders, whatever. Twilight's Own Companion. It's all the same. It's my friend Frank Spotnitz, who created Man in the High Castle. He said, good enough is never good enough. And he said, always aim for the fences because maybe then at least you'll get a single, and he's absolutely right. So anything else, Elaine?
No.
Yay, Elaine! 3 cheers, Elaine. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, for our final Mr. Sci-Fi question of
Yes.
the night,
Yes.
we go to Scott Baker.
Hi, Scott.
Who asks, who do you think could make a successful remake of The Star Lost? Harlan disowned it. What showrunner might be able to do him proud?
That's a
Might
very interesting question. Most people don't remember The Star Lost. Harlan won the Writers Guild Award for the pilot script of that show. The producers didn't know what they were doing, and he ended up putting, you know, his pseudonym Cordwainer Bird on it. But they did publish his script of it, which was made into a graphic novel. You know, I mean, again, it's really a shame. As part of the Showrunners Network, I very much wanted to do something of Harlan's, but sadly, his wife Susan, later then his widow Susan, recently passed away very unexpectedly. She was only 60, and so that makes it harder. I have to find out who's in charge of the estate, and it's much harder when it isn't someone who loved. Either is the writer or who loved the writer and wants to see his vision realized. Harlan wrote City on the Edge of Forever, probably the greatest original Star Trek episode, and he also wrote 2 great episodes of The Outer Limits. He was a phenomenal writer, but I think his work will largely be forgotten because he never created that great TV show that he aspired to, and he was not a novelist really. He wrote novels, but that wasn't really his métier, and so I think he'll fade like so many writers do who didn't make that one, you know, great piece of work, like Ray with Fahrenheit 451, for instance. So, you know, but yeah, I think The Star Lost would certainly make a good TV show if they did it right. But you know, they rarely do it right. So, but by the way, over my shoulder behind me, for those Mr. Sci-Fi fans, is my portrait of Harlan Ellison that I drew when I was 16 or 17, and that was the portrait of him on his webpage, so on his harlanellison.com. So okay,
Lydia Torres.
Oh, Lydia Torres, you just showed up. Lydia, do you want to take your turn? Are you there, Lydia? Whoop.
Hi. I don't know if you can see me, but
Nope.
No.
No.
We hear you.
We hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. Well, I'm kind of laying down now. I'm really, really tired.
Okay.
I've been working on the set stuff.
Great.
But yeah, it's been a real big learning experience working with these materials or whatnot.
Yeah. Jesus.
And yeah.
Well, you're making sets for Space Command. We should explain that. An alien spaceship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for Space Command.
Cool. Cool. Yay.
And it's been fantastic. I appreciate you allowing me to work with you on the set.
Well, thank you.
I look forward to seeing the final production.
Me too. Let's get to it. I'm chomping at the bit. Is there anything else? Is there anything you need?
No, not at the moment. I'm actually doing quite well. After I
Good.
take a little break, I'll start working on my own project.
Great. Oh, wow,
great.
I'll probably be for a couple more weeks.
Cool. Okay, great. Well, 3 cheers, Lydia. Yay. So is there one last Mr. Sci-Fi question given Lydia's appearance?
Yeah, I think we can squeeze one more in.
Sure.
We've got, a question from Hector Rodriguez.
Hello, Hector.
Who asks, what concepts or ideas would you like to see more explored in sci-fi?
That's interesting. Well, I'm sort of exploring them now. I'm
assuming he said he means sci-fi and not San Francisco.
Of course, yes, of course. I tend to like stories that, I tend to like space travel stories that are on a big scale. I'm not really that interested in ones that look inward, like toward the cyberspace or like Ready Player One kind of stuff. That's not as interesting to me. I'm very interested in issues of the people who are invisible, the people who are ignored, the people who are treated badly because they can be treated badly. The Fugitive Space, which is a script about the military-industrial prison complex set in the future. That's a really fun project, and that's one of the Showrunners Network shows. And I think I like giving voice to the voiceless, as Elaine tends to as well. I'm really glad that I like casting a wide variety of kinds of people, and so does Elaine. And it's So that's of interest to me. Basically doing science fictional versions of the world I live in, which is an inclusive world, is of interest to me. I think that I'm more excited in certain ways about like what guys like Elon Musk are doing, because I'm so eager to see, men on Mars, men and women on Mars. And I think Elon Musk
dropped the helicopter.
Yay, that's so good. And without breaking it.
Place it down very gently, and it's gonna fly.
That's great.
A test flight within a week or something.
Yeah, well, let's send a submarine to Europa. That's the next one. That's something I'm really interested in seeing them do. But so we'll see. Watch this space. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff over the next year or two on the Showrunners Network and Mr. Sci-Fi.
And if you write multicultural casting, you can seem like a better writer than you are, because your characters are just naturally fall into being a little more interesting when you're writing them.
And by the way, when I think Mark Lungo was asking about science fiction projects that haven't been done that I'd like to do, one is the Kraken Wakes by John Wyndham, which is about an undersea alien invasion. And it's a really great book, and it would be very hard to do as a movie or a TV show, but it would be really fun, really, really fun. So, okay, so I think it's, Robert Doc Barham, you're back. Do you want to take your turn? If you're back, are you there? Robert?
I am here.
There you go.
Thanks. Just a moment.
Sure.
Believe it or not, it was over at the.
Oh, you froze up. Uh-oh.
Robert?
We're not hearing you or seeing you. You're just a still image with a hat. Uh-oh. Well,
a hat.
Robert, are you back?
Are you there?
Whoa.
You're frozen.
Oh, dear.
Okay. Well, I guess we can try coming back to you. I could take my turn and then we can come back to you, I guess.
You know that joke, right? He had a hat. One of the best jokes ever.
No, what's the joke?
That?
In a nutshell, while a grandmother's walking along the beach with her little grandson, beautiful day, nobody in sight, this wave comes in. And when it washes away, the kid is gone. And the grandmother's freaking out, and talking up to God, bring it back, bring back my Harold, bring back my Harold, I'll do anything, bring back my Harold. The wave comes in, goes away, the kid is back right where he was, and the grandmother looks up to the sky and said, he had a hat.
Well, it's a good joke. So I see Robert is back, so do you want to try take two, Robert?
Sure.
There we go.
I'm working on a 30-minute stand-up comedy show. It's over at Studio B at Fairfax Public Access. It's a
great
3-camera high definition shoot, and
Cool.
the crew is the Fairfax Public Access professional staff.
Great.
There'll be a director with an audio technician and floor director, 2 camera people, and someone to handle the timing and teleprompter. And
Cool.
We've got an MC with 3 comedians who are coming from, all of them been doing stand-up comedy professionally for over 30 years each. And I'm just having a heck of a time getting all of the elements together. I haven't done a production like this before. And where you were talking earlier about money, and we're working on a budget that's just about plain shoestring.
Yes.
I'm wondering, they will allow us to work with underwriters who would donate or sponsor money to be able to fund.
Sure.
I'm wondering if you would have any suggestions about who might be interested in that.
Well, first of all, what do you need?
A few $1,000s.
No. I don't mean money. I mean, what do you need to make this project?
You mean, we've got to find some hotel rooms to be able to cover the cost of hotel rooms for the comedians.
Okay.
I'd like to be able to cover the costs for, say, their travel, meaning just the gasoline and some meals and things like that.
Sure.
I was a comedian for 15 years professionally, and I know that little things do add up and mean a lot when you show that you care for the talent, for the performers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got guys who I like and respect a lot, and I'd like to do a good show. Part of our challenge is that because of the current limitations, we can't have an audience in the studio. Previously, I wanted to have an intimate audience of about 50 people at
Right.
2 top tables with the little table tents and candles and that kind of thing to create an intimate kind of old school comedy atmosphere.
Yes.
But now we have to adapt with something like a Zoom meeting gallery where the audience members are projected onto a flat screen monitor in the studio that the comedians will perform to. I've been looking at an alternative, which is to have them have a projector project the Zoom gallery onto a scrim or screen that's 6 feet by 12 feet.
Yes.
And that's what I was over there trying to work out tonight.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's going to work.
Well, now given the limitations, why aren't you having the comedians be on Zoom as well?
Why aren't the what?
Why aren't you having the comedians on Zoom as well? Why do they need to be there physically?
I like the fact that it's in Studio B, and I like the look of Studio B.
Okay.
So I wanted to give some sort of sense of. I believe that with the way that Studio B looks and the set, the curtain, the stage, and all of that it has a kind of quality that's reminiscent of a little bit like when comics go on to the late night talk shows.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's several things, and you mentioned public access. Is it going to be aired, or what's the ultimate goal?
The show itself will be shot on April the 9th from 3 to 7 p.m. We're asking the audience to be there from about 3:45 until 5 p.m. And then after the show is done in post-production, the show will be aired in the month of May on local cable on Channel 10. It should go out to about 750,000 households in the region. And then we have another show scheduled to be shot on the 23rd, and hopefully a third one after that. What I'd like to do is see if I could just put together a nice series and learn a lot in the process. And one of the groups that I was reaching out to recently is the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I'd like to make a mention of it at the end of the program to help raise awareness for that particular cause.
Sure. So you were asking about raising money, and you wanted to raise a few $1,000s, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, you can try. I mean, there's no downside in asking people and for in-kind services. I mean, hotels nowadays are very underrepresented. Most people aren't traveling. So if you reached out to local hotels around that area and said, we'll give you credit, and on-screen, credit, they might comp you a few rooms just because the rooms are sitting vacant, and so that's where I would start. Also, if restaurants are having a hell of a time, so you might talk to, the delis in that area or whatever, I would much more try for in-kind than for cash, frankly. But if you want to try for cash, you can. But I just wouldn't pursue that too much because it could wear you thin when you've got a short time frame and a lot of stuff you have to pull off. I mean, there are things like GoFundMe campaigns and so forth, but you always have to say to yourself, why would someone give money to this? It's always about what the need of the person donating is, what they want. Whereas hotels and restaurants are really having struggles. And if you just said, hey, if you just feed my people, if you just put them up for a night or two, we'll be happy to credit you and mention you in all our publicity. And they probably.
Right. Well, that was the idea, is that we would mention them, have the MC mention them at with thanks at the end of the program, and then also include something in the credits.
Yeah.
And then my plan was also to see if I could. The term bicycle the program to other public access stations around the United States.
Yeah.
And there's a website that's called pegmedia.com where you can upload your show, and if people at different public access stations are interested in your show, they will download it and air it on their public access station. And so I was thinking, well, what would be for example, a national or global hotel chain that might be interested. So I went out to the Marriott and I spoke with them, and they said thanks, but no. But
right.
I figured that mentioning them would be.
I would look at the smaller hotels physically around that area. There's small hotels like on Melrose and on Fairfax, and I would just do that. I mean, when you said Fairfax, I mean, where are you located? Where are you? Oh, where are you located, or have you frozen again? Are you there? Uh-oh. Oh, no. Or he's a living statue and is practicing his craft. Well, assuming you can hear us, I don't know if you can still hear us. I would try the boutique hotels because there's a bunch of them, and I think they would want the thing, the notice. But try. But also, if you're not on the table, get on the table email, send out the requests for what you need. You'll get response. Money is always the hardest one.
Corporate has less flexibility. That's why it's better to go to these smaller venues.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, try stuff, but don't drive yourself crazy. I mean, find the way to make the thing work. I didn't even know there was public access anymore. I like the internet much better. YouTube, I think, is an incredibly powerful tool. So, okay, great. So I guess we could have one more Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam, since we're, and I'll try to talk quickly before anyone else joins the party. So
I don't think we have any more.
Oh no! Oh no!
So
That's sad. Okay, wait. Let me see if I can show you this. Give me one moment.
Wait. I do have another Scott Baker question.
Okay, Scott, go for it.
You wanted to know if you've seen Hanging with Dr. Z, the Planet of the Apes inspired late night talk show on YouTube.
No, but that's interesting, and I can check it out. What I was going to say was, because I'm going through my comic book.
Has Mark Augushowitz seen that?
Have you seen it?
Thank you.
It's a Planet of the Apes late night thing.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Hanging with Dr. Z.
It's Dr. Zaius.
No, I haven't.
Well, you can check it out.
I think it's Dana Gould behind it.
Well, that's fun. That's fun.
It probably is. We've seen him many times.
Yes.
He's on all the talk shows, and we've seen him live when I used to do Talking Apes, and we actually had him on the show. So if anybody wants to hear an interesting interview with Dana Gould,
cool.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's kind of a Space Ghost coast to coast kind of format.
Yes. So what I was going to say, great. What I was going to say was that I've been going through my comic book collection because I'm decluttering and so forth. And EC Comics in the 50s was the greatest comic book done that decade. And it was amazing science fiction and horror comics, including Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and Weird Science and Weird Fantasy. And then they were called before Congress to justify themselves, and it went extremely badly. And so then they tried to do an about face to keep in business. And so they decided to do, instead of doing the horror comics, they decided to do socially relevant and socially valuable comics. And one of the ones they came up with, and this is not a joke, was Psychoanalysis Comics. Okay. And here it is, Psychoanalysis Comics. I think it only ran 4 or 6 issues, and of which I think I have all of them. And the great part is it's not only Psychoanalysis Comics, but issue to issue, it's the same for clients of this one psychiatrist. So it's the same 4 people through the entire run of the comic, and the word balloons are like yay big. It's insane, totally insane. But fortunately, that folded, and the one title that survived and transposed into a magazine that kept them afloat was Mad. Mad magazine was initially a comic book that EC published. So there you go. So okay, so you're back, right, Doc?
Sorry about that. The battery ran out, and then I had to plug it back in. I apologize.
No, I'm glad, because when your batteries run out, you stop moving and talking, and so you definitely want to. I mean, you look like a human being, but obviously you're a robot if you're running on batteries. So anyway, the point is,
I meant my phone.
Oh, good. That's an important distinction. So the thing I was saying was, yes, go to the boutique hotels in that area. Where are you in Los Angeles? Oh, he's frozen again. Uh-oh. Or he's in deep meditation. Okay, anyway, boutique hotels. Someone tell him if okay, fine. Okay, well, sorry, Doc. I guess it's my turn. I'll take my turn.
Yeah, better take your turn.
Yeah, before everyone falls asleep like David Bartlett. Things are going great. Space Command, Showrunners Network, Sweet Haven is part of that. Our venture capital person has flown to New York to meet with all the investors, the potential investors, to raise $36 million. You can almost live on that in LA. Hello again. I'm taking my turn, Doc, but maybe we'll get you this time. But I'll come back to you. the new book, Greenlighting Yourself. I just emailed my publisher that I hope to have a draft done to send to her April or May at the latest. So we're cranking along on that. And gosh, it's just an amazing time. I mean, I have no complaints. You know, life is good, and we're in good health. We got our second shots. You know, things are moving along. And so Dave Edison has been wonderful. Adam, you're doing great. And David Bartlett, bringing aboard Mitch Suskin. He's a 3-time Emmy-winning visual effects supervisor who's been a friend for many, many years. And he won Emmys for Star Trek Voyager, Enterprise, and Lost, and he's worked on Star Trek Discovery. He's just a brilliant, brilliant guy, and I think we've hired him now on Space Command, and he will, I think, be very, very, very helpful. So that's the main stuff. Have I forgotten anything? I don't think so.
Just keeping busy.
Onward we go. So great. So going back to you, Doc. So I don't know if you heard it, but I said reach out to the boutique hotels. Okay, in the area. Are you in Los Angeles? Oh, I can't hear you. Unmute.
Mute.
There you go.
I'm outside Washington, D.C.
Oh, so when you were talking about Fairfax, you meant Fairfax, Virginia.
Yeah, not Fairfax, California.
Oh, well then, yeah. So that's interesting. Oh God. Yes. So boutique hotels are more likely than big chains because it's too small a project for them. Boutique hotels will work. I thought you were in Fairfax here in LA when you mentioned that. There's a street called Fairfax that's the Jewish neighborhood. I mean, try stuff, but don't drive yourself crazy. I mean, you know, do the best you can do. I mean, if you don't have the money, be inventive and find other ways to do it. I mean, you know, you don't have to be first cabin on things. I mean, you make it work. You talk to your people, you share with them the challenges, and you come up with creative solutions. I mean, that's the main thing. That's what I would suggest. You know, I mean, on Space Command, we initially had an aspiring producer who thought that he had to provide like individual trailers for all of our cast, and he blew through $200,000 in 3 days, and that was crazy. And now it's like we have one green room for all of our actors, and no one has complained about that. I mean, we have, you know, it's like people understand if you don't have money, as long as you treat them with respect and you create something that's worth creating. So just make it happen one way or another. Be the drop of water that wears away the mountain. You know. Anything else?
That's it for today.
Okay. Good luck. Yay.
Thank you, Bill.
So now I saw Kira, but I think he wigged out.
Oh, by the way, I do have one thing to say.
Yeah.
Mark, I recommended that my friend Ben Cook, maybe I shouldn't speak on his behalf, but I recommended that he came and talked to you. He's just finished a science fiction novel and
cool.
Would like to get it published. So I recommended he sit in on one of these
things. Yeah, he should. I know a lot about that subject. So
yeah,
absolutely. And the book world is totally different from like film and TV in terms of, I mean, it's much nicer. The editors are much nicer. It's just a better world in many, many ways, and much easier to sell a novel than to sell a TV show. So yeah.
The editors in the film world are pretty nice, don't you think, Dave? You just said the editors were much nicer.
No, I didn't mean the edit. No, different meaning. Dave doesn't listen to me. You know, when my mouth's going, he just goes, you know, okay, I'm gone.
I'm putting glowing eyes on.
No, I didn't.
On Doug Jones while all you kids are having fun.
I didn't mean the editors. And by the way, I was talking about book editors because book editors are not like film editors. Completely different job title.
I know. I'm just joking.
I know you're just yanking my chain.
So many people, I sit there and when I'm looking for work, and sometimes I don't even think people understand the difference between book editors and video editors sometimes.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a reason why they call it stupidity. But you know, but what I meant was that Hollywood is just a rougher game. Publishing is much nicer, and now that people can self-publish and get on Amazon, wow, that is a huge, powerful tool. So there's a lot of ways to make that machine go. So okay, great. So I think on that note, that's the dog alarm. So we have come to the end of our evening. We're here every Thursday, same time, same place. And thanks, guys. Stay well, stay safe, and we will talk to you again next time. Bye, guys. Take care. Bye. Bye. Take care. Bye. Okay. Oh. And bye, Mr. Sci-Fi friends. We will talk to you anon.